Mortgage One Studios. Russ Clark with you. Yeah, it's Tuesday. You had a 3-day weekend. It's hard getting up. That's okay. Just, force yourself, rub the eyes.
Yeah, it wasn't the 3-day weekend. It was
Dean's
just,
with me. Yeah.
Just didn't, today didn't have as much ambition as usual. I got up, though, and did the right thing.
My ambition was just sucked yesterday.
Yeah, I
don't know why. I don't know why. A lot of things I want to get done didn't happen.
I'd say for me, that's probably part of the really sort of minor malaise this morning was that I did not send an article off to my publisher yesterday.
So you felt bad?
Yeah. I mean, I got about 3/4 done, almost 80% done. And then I said, well, time to go to bed. So.
Yeah, you can do that.
I figured it was pretty good.
I laid around, took some naps, little naps, and didn't get anything done I wanted. A little bit, but not much anything. And I would have gone to bed early. Helen wanted to go out to dinner.
Oh,
which that's okay. We'll do it. But it was late, for me. But we went out to Mi Rancho.
I thought about it, and I have a neighbor who is a veteran, and I thought, I was going mentally through a list in my head and saying, who are the veterans I can call up and say happy veteran or Memorial Day?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
it's not quite, but I mean, anyway, so I went over to my neighbor and congratulated him on being a veteran and said a happy Memorial Day.
Yeah.
I've been in Australia when they did their version of Memorial Day, and they really do it up big. It's amazing. It makes our celebrations look weak and pitiful.
I didn't join any celebrations this year. I mean, I normally would have gotten out or done something, but I just didn't feel up to it. I did the radio show.
Yeah, I figured you would.
I came in.
I halfway thought about coming in, and I thought, 2 days a week's enough for me.
And I yes, it is. I enjoyed it though, and even though I didn't even invite anybody. I just sat here and entertained myself.
Oh yeah.
A few callers called in, but we had some great conversations. Always do. I'm never disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing, and when I say radio show, I misspoke. Podcast. So
I'll call a radio show, but I mean, even because it's still that platform that we're still fighting for. We're still going to work on.
Hopefully we still reach people.
Yeah. And we're looking at, not that I find anything bad about podcasts. I mean, there's some good ones out there.
And fantastic ones.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of them. I think they're a significant, they're even a large part of the overall media today.
Some of them bother me though.
Of course.
Well, I mean, the ones I like, but they decided that, they need to do 3 times a day. Oh. And since they don't have much to talk about, they just stretch out.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
It's a lot of work to try to put in huge amounts of hours.
Right.
But there's so much out there that if you wish to be informed and entertained, there's just such a plethora of available.
And there is. But a lot of the podcasts limit themselves to the subject matter they're going to talk about, military or something like that. And there could be nothing going on. And so they're going to take one little subject and stretch it to an hour.
But I kind of like the subject matter expert sort of podcast.
Yeah.
Because, they should know more than me about a particular thing. And they usually do.
And there's some great ones, but they don't try to do it every time there's nothing to talk about.
Well, some people just do it regularly.
Like David Hansen or something.
Victor Davis Hansen, I listen to him and read his stuff pretty regularly.
But he's not going to come out every day.
No, I don't know. He's got a gig with the Daily Signal now, and I think he puts something out just about every day. And he hasn't in the past several months. In the past couple months, he was had a medical problem and was hospitalized for a while, and he's been recovering. But I enjoy listening to him because he's got such a good a historical grounding.
He does. He knows his subject before he opens up the mic. He knows it inside and out. Now, and he's good with a guest, or as a guest, or with a guest.
He is,
or alone. Doesn't matter.
He's the amount of work he puts in.
I don't know that it's that much work anymore. It's just he loves doing it.
Well, there's that. I mean, I can appreciate that because most of my writing, I love doing it. I'm doing the article I was working on is a bear attack story out of Pennsylvania. And I happened to, I noticed it when I was doing research. It happened about almost, 2 years, no, about a year ago, and a year and a half ago. And I managed to be able to interview some of the people. Finally, it took a long time to be able to get a hold of them. And they're
probably shocked. You want to talk about bears?
Well, they were, once they found out I was legitimate, that's the hardest part. Then they were willing to talk, and I got the whole story to come out. And it's just fascinating because I go into so much more detail than the news articles, which actually got about half the stuff wrong.
Well, that makes sense.
And so it's fun. For me, I really enjoy doing that. And I think that there's a lot on the media, the new media out there, where people do that kind of thing. They dig into the details of something that's just very superficially covered in the old media. And I found when I've talked to people who are experts on various things, when it used to be nothing but ABC, NBC, CBS, and CNN and so on, that they invariably said when they watched a program or a news coverage of something that they were expert in, the media almost always got very important stuff wrong.
Well, that's wrong.
And so, it's fun where this is something I've been working on for really close to 10 years now, 9.5 years. And I've made myself a subject matter expert on it because I probably put more hours into this particularly very minuscule part of the world, on bear attacks than anybody else. And so I have become a subject matter expert, and it's interesting to hear these detailed stories of people of what actually happened. I mean, everybody has a story. And so every time when I talk to people, almost no matter who it is, the story is really interesting.
I sent you that article the other day that I found interesting about the Japanese answer to bears was robotic wolves.
Wolves, yeah.
You never brought it up on air. I thought, he's going to bring it.
I guess for me, I had read about it, a while back, and it is kind of interesting. It's the Japanese have a significantly different approach in a lot of ways. They handle their bear problems. And they have worse bear problems.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe the number of injuries and deaths they had. That was like more than the United States.
More than the United States. I think it's more than all of North America generally.
Yeah.
And look at, we have I'm trying to think of how many, let's see, we have about 4 times as many grizzly bears and probably 10 times as many black bears. Theirs is the Asiatic black bear, which is more aggressive.
Those Asian bears are very aggressive.
They are, and partly is they stopped hunting them a few years ago, and
so now they're hunting humans.
Well, their population keeps growing, and as with any animal population, or with bears in particular, the younger ones get driven out of where they're used to, and they got to find a new place to get some food, and they end up going into the cities looking for food.
See, Japan is smaller than California. It's about 93% the size of California.
Yeah, they're pretty close, California and Japan.
Yeah, and they have more bear deaths than all of
North America.
All
of North America. That's including the polar bears, the grizzly bears, and the black bears.
So they manufactured a robotic wolf that scares them.
Well, this is in a particular prefecture in Japan has been trying it, and they say it kind of works. And
it didn't look that impressive.
I was not.
I figured it wasn't high tech.
I figured bears would kind of avoid coming within 100 yards of it, and that'd probably be about most of what it would do. And there's a lot of other things they're doing too. I give the Japanese a lot of credit.
Do they use bear spray?
It's hard to get.
It didn't say anything in the article about it.
I read an article about it because this is something I'm interested in. And they said, if you look around hard, sporting outlets and such, you can find it, but it's really expensive because it's imported from the U.S. And so, the equivalent here, probably $100 for a can of bear spray.
It is? Oh, over there, you mean?
Over in Japan.
Yeah.
Here you get them about $30-$40.
So say you need those to have a good protest,
Yeah, they've we could do a whole show just on bear spray because I
don't want to.
I don't think we want to go there, but they have realized that they have too many bears. So they've set up a program now that they're trying to recruit hunters. They made it so hard to become a hunter.
They're going to call them out.
Yes, they are. They are actively trying to reduce the populations of bears.
I know so many places have tried. Well, we're just going to give them birth control with a dart, and we've done that in the United States. We tried that with the burros. It's such a disaster.
It doesn't work very well. It's just too hard.
No.
And so the easiest. The obvious, simple way to control a bear population is to let people shoot bears. I mean, and for the grizzly, they have forget this. It's Ursus arctos subpopulation in Japan, which is basically the brown or grizzly bear. It's the same as the European brown bear, the same as the Kodiak bear, the same as the grizzly bear. And in Japan, they have a slight variation.
Yeah, it's more aggressive.
Well,
it eats people
all over the world. That can happen. It's not most of the bear attacks around the world by Ursus arctos don't end up with somebody getting eaten, and I'd say that's mostly because
we don't taste
people
good.
are proactive, and so somebody gets attacked by a bear, and they either drive the bear off, or they find the body, or the bear maybe just leaves it for a while because often that's what bears do: is they leave it and come back, and so we recover the bodies before they get eaten. I think that's a lot of what's happening with Ursus arctos. But my brother and I discussed this, and they said, well, the Japanese could make quite a bit of money. Just let the Japanese be guides and have people from around the world come over and hunt those bears and charge them $40,000 a bear.
It's like hunting bighorn sheep. It's a once in a lifetime deal.
Right. But they won't do it. I mean, the idea of a foreigner coming over and having a firearm and actually shooting something on Japanese soil is anathema to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ever since the nuclear bomb.
I guess. I mean, Japanese have some of the tightest gun control laws in the world.
Yeah.
And it goes back to when the modern Japan was set up. Well, actually, I think it's 1600s. They had found or imported firearms technology from the Portuguese, who had a trading post there, and they successful. I forget which. The first shogunate that conquered all of Japan used firearms extensively in their armies to conquer Japan, and then the samurai were not real happy with firearms because a farmer with a firearm could kill a samurai knight. And so this is not the samurai way, And so they started, the shogunate started restricting firearms. And first they required a license for everybody who was going to make firearms. All the gunsmiths had to have licenses.
Did you ever see The Last Shogun, the movie Last Shogun?
I did.
I loved it. Now I may be disheartened here. Is any of that true that they allowed those kinds of?
There's elements of truth in that movie
that they allowed. Foreigners to bring in weaponry to non-shoguns.
The shogunate, after Commodore, I think it was Perry, opened up Japan, they went on a very aggressive modernization program. And they imported lots of militaries. They modernized the Japanese military. And that's where they got the modern Japanese military that had a fair amount of success early on in World War II. And they beat the Russians around 1900, 1902, something like that.
Well, they were ferocious in World War II and all kinds of, went into China.
Right. And they had a lot of success in China, but they built up a false confidence. And it's easy to understand why. Yeah. When you charge Chinese peasants that have one rifle for every 3 people and they're starving, and you know, you overwhelm them, and you have success after success after success, and you beat Russia, and the war only lasted a few months.
That you went after the United States.
You start believing that it's just warrior spirit that matters above everything else. Well, in the United States, we had a thing called logistics, and we stressed logistics much more than the Japanese, and we just outproduced them. We just them and the rest of the world.
And there was some luck in some of those battleships.
Some of the early,
aircraft carrier.
But we also had great intelligence.
Yeah.
We had broken the Japanese diplomatic code, and we had some of their naval codes. And so we had enough intelligence to understand what they were trying to do, and we got there ahead of them. And it was a tight thing as it was. We had luck, definitely. In Midway, we had a lot of luck.
Yeah.
In the Coral Sea, there was some luck involved. The forces were roughly even, and we were able to inflict some damage on the Japanese. And they were a little risk averse at that time, and they decided we're not going to engage here.
Scary times, and obviously I didn't live through it or anything, but I've watched so many specials on it and recreations of the Battle of Midway and all that. Those things were so scary. I mean, they could have gone south very fast.
They could have, and it was, we had to have luck as well as the better intelligence, and we had such industrial capacity compared to the Japanese. I mean, they thought they wrecked one of our major aircraft carriers. I forget, was it the Yorktown? I forget.
It came back,
and they managed to get it.
They thought it was sunk. They thought it was killed.
Yeah. And it limped back to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And I think they turned it out, got it back into battle in like a week. And it was amazing.
And the Japanese thought it sank. They didn't think it was still out there.
And that's why, and they based their assessments on their future plans on losses that they thought they'd inflicted on us that we had managed to save.
Yeah. It was an amazing time. But look at that compared to where we are right now, technology and our war and everything. It's like, and maybe we can get arrogant too, but we
can.
I don't know who can.
We can develop a false sense of.
I don't know who can beat us right now, but
well,
I like that we're showing restraints, we're showing patience with Iran. We don't want to destroy them.
I just have a lot of faith in how President Trump is handling.
I do too.
To me, he looks like he has the confidence, and there's reason. We just completely outclassed the Iranians in just about every way.
And after the Venezuelans. And it's not that they're on their own like China was when Japan took it. They have Russia technology, China technology that was designed to defeat us.
Well, yes, and the Iranians had a plan.
And we cut right through it.
And they looked at our wargaming, which we published, and they said, oh, well, here's what we can do to beat the Americans.
Yeah.
And, swarm them, overwhelm their defenses. But we looked at our warm gaming too and said, we got to figure out a way to defend against this type of attack that beat us in the war game. And so it's like we managed to, it was strategy and tactics.
It's like we understand our perceived weaknesses for sure.
I think we do that better than most places.
It surprised me though, on the Iran situation, reading some of the recaps now and everything on why we weren't better prepared with the drones. I mean, I'm impressed at how fast they recovered. In other words, the military, the Navy, recognized they can't shoot Patriots at $30,000 drones anymore.
Right.
But they should have known that going in. I mean, we've been watching Ukraine for years now.
I think they'd been, first off, a lot of that was during the Biden era.
No, well, the last year has been Trump. Here's what I read finally they did. It's I think it was within 5 days after the Iran started, they realized, oh, we can't keep shooting these with these expensive ones. We're going to procure a drone program.
Right.
Now, which is unusual. Like, you don't do that while you're in the middle of battle, but they did. And within 10 days, they had orders. Within 20 days, they were using them.
I think this was during the Trump administration.
What was during the Iranian thing within the last months?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Just within the last months.
I heard you say Ukrainian. Maybe I was wrong.
No, that's where they got the technology.
Well, I mean, yes. And I understand that our version of the Shahed drones.
I'm not talking Shaheeds. I'm talking about that anti-Shahed.
Yeah,
the killer drones that go up and kill them. And yeah, we already had that one going in. I think that was already developed by a independent contractor.
Very fast, and that was developed. It's a company out of Phoenix, as I recall.
But you've been involved in military procurement. You know how this
yes,
that
I
thing
do,
goes.
And it tends to be quite slow.
The development of new programs, new platforms, and all that doesn't.
But the Trump administration, they're saying, look, we know this. Everybody knows this. We're going to change the rules.
Within 20 days of the start of the Iranian conflict, they had them on the vessels. They were using them within 20 days. A brand new platform. It was new to us anyway, from Ukraine, which cost $1,000 a copy to shoot down a $20,000 instead of $1 million to shoot down.
I mean, and they work quite well. I understand.
I just think that has got to be something brand new for the military, at least in recent years, that you can pick it up that quickly. Now,
we did stuff like that in World War II all the time.
Well, I've read stories on it and seen some documentaries on some of the stuff.
Now, some of it didn't work, and a lot of it did, and a lot of it had to be fixed in process.
But a lot of it, some of the ones I saw anyway, where some joker took a B-17 and decided it would make a good gun ship if they could just put all these 50 calibers all over. They put like 8 or 9 50 calibers on the nose, and all the and all the engineers said the plane will crash, it'll never take off, it's going to ruin all that. Since you pull the trigger, it's going to disintegrate that plane because of the way it's made. And some engineer on the ground put some rubberized shockers in it to make sure that it didn't vibrate the framework and all that. And they took off and tested it, thinking that this may just shatter the plane. It didn't. And that plane was so successful at taking out these little supply ships that Japan had that they had no answer for, that Boeing came in and copied it. And it was the first, remember Vietnam, the Puff and all that, where they started arming arming these big,
that's where,
big heavy planes with a huge number of guns. And these things work like, right at water level, though. The B-17's flying in at water level because the anti-aircraft guns the Japanese had couldn't come down to that level. They had to fire up, not down.
Yeah, they couldn't depress them as far as they
came down so low that the guns were ineffective, and they opened up with, 8, 10, 50 cals at waterline, and then they put on a 20 millimeter rocket on one of them afterwards, and they just started experimenting pulling from junk and wrecked crafts, crafts that were there. They had B-17s that were not salvageable, pulling the guns off, pulling stuff off, putting them together, and they pasted these things together in the middle of a war by a mechanic, not an engineer.
Yeah, that type of thing.
But that's not what this is. I mean, we got some
happen. I mean, and I think the Trump administration, people have, you read papers about this. I mean, if you're interested in the subject, there's all kinds of erudite discussions about it. And everybody says, it takes too long for the procurement program. And these are the basic flaws. And it's been going on for decades and decades.
Yeah.
And the Trump administration, we're going to do something about it. And they did. And so we are seeing a much faster turnaround. We haven't completely given up on the old model because there's some things that you need to do that way. You're not going to build a nuclear aircraft carrier on spec. You can't do it. Somebody has to fund it, and it isn't a private individual. As much as I talk about that, I could always spend trillions of dollars easily. I could. Who would I pay to build a nuclear aircraft carrier for me?
You could pay me.
Yeah, maybe you got connections. I might be able to get it.
Right. At least that's what I'll say.
But the point is that some things you need a big procurement program for.
You do, and this weapon they've got now, this little $1,000 drone, is in the hands of the military, and they are adapting it to our own.
And they're
system.
probably perfecting it too. I mean, one of the things that the Ukrainians did is they hang them off of prop planes,
right?
And so that you have a bunch of them up there, and they use the prop plane to get closer enough to the drone they want to kill, and then they release these to go kill them.
It's got to be driving the Russians crazy.
Well, they just had a big attack on Kiev, the other day.
And there was a retaliation. They had an attack on Moscow right afterwards.
Right. And so I don't know how successful it was. I mean, this is war and horrible bad things happen. But it appears to me that we're starting to see a glimmer that the Russian leadership is saying, hey, maybe this isn't working out great for us.
Yeah, you're seeing more and more dissenting opinions, and it's kind of unusual in a country like that you fall off building for dissenting opinions.
Well, yeah, that's a country that controls the flow of information inside the country can endure more than a country where the information really comes from outside.
Yeah, Mark Kelly would have already fallen off a building in Russia if he was a Russian.
Very likely. I mean, and look at Iran has a pretty good control over most of the information on the inside.
Oh, they've shut down the internet. You can't get anything. Although I hear they're going to open it up now, and we can talk about Iran because, we go into this. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off, and on, and off. And they apparently have another peace deal, which I don't get too excited about. But the industry changed a little bit. I mean, you saw oil coming down. You saw the market doing a little better. Right. I saw commentators saying it's skyrocketing down and all, 5 points. Which is something.
It's something, and it shows you that I suspect when we get people to believe that the Strait of Hormuz is safe to transit, the price of oil will come down rapidly.
I mean, I'm a skeptic as to when. I'm not a skeptic that it's going to happen. I'm a skeptic as to when. Yeah, and when I hear this, that hey, we're very close, I don't know how much of that is just trying to push it along.
In my opinion, Iran strategy is to try to drag this out
and they've been frustrating everything. And if anything, I think Trump is frustrating them and me.
Sure.
And it's brilliant that he's out frustrating the frustrators.
He understands the dynamic pretty well. That's my opinion. Yeah. And just how exactly this is going to end up. I thought it would be over by now, but I'm wrong.
Now, they've been in a ceasefire now since the kinetic ended. And what's that been like? Well, over 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
So that's kind of like reset the whole War Powers Act thing, right?
Yeah, it does, according to Trump. And according to Democrats, no, because that's a battle the Democrats think they have to have, which is a political battle instead of one that's what makes sense for the war.
Or for us.
For us. Yeah. But just recently, there was a buildup to go ahead and we're going to start it back because we can't get anything with you. And then that was called off for another 5 to 7 days, which is like expected almost every time they say that we just about got it done and it's going to be called off again. There's been kinetic strikes though.
Yes.
And of course recent. This weekend.
Yeah.
And it was like 2 days ago that there were some boats blown out of the water. 2 Iranian boats were spotted laying mines. So they were blown out of the water at Strait of Hormuz. And then some missile sites were destroyed by some other missiles that we have. We send some missiles and destroy some missile sites. And during a ceasefire, now the ceasefire has not stopped the firing, which is weird. Well, and some people are pointing that out like as a ceasefire, but there continues to be some kinetic injury.
That's right.
Limited kinetic energy. And Trump and everyone either, does that mean that's the start of the relaunch or is that just another ceasefire shootout? I don't know. And this one apparently is another ceasefire shootout. And the U.S. military is saying that it was a self-defense strike. Right. That they had warned that any Iranian boats that were spotted laying mines or doing anything out there, they were going to take them out. And they still do, even during the ceasefire.
Well, because that's a violation of the ceasefire on the other side.
Right. And then because the planes were shooting at the boats, Iran opened up some missile sites, some SAM missiles, and fired at our planes. So our planes took those out, all self-defense.
Yeah.
Nobody was hurt on our side. No SAMs hit, nothing. And we got both them. And then so I was listening like, well, what's Iran going to say about this? Well, of course, they said, well, this is outrageous. I can't believe what the United States is doing.
I don't think
but they're not going to fire they're not going to start it up.
I'm not sure there's anybody in Iran who's in charge.
Well, there's a lot of people think they are.
Numerous factions that may claim they're in charge.
Well, somebody had a trigger finger on the SAMs.
Well, that's
somebody had a trigger finger on those boats.
And that doesn't mean that they got a command from the high Ayatollah or whatever. It means that maybe they thought, we've been told, if we can, shoot.
But with the obvious things blowing up, the U.S. government had to come out and answer it. And they said, look, this is just a self-defense thing. It doesn't mean we're back off of the ceasefire. The ceasefire continues. ceasefire continues while we're using munitions, which is all new. I think this is, and it's limited. Obviously, it's not 1,000 bombs a day. It's limited to some skirmishes of some kind, but they're still calling it a ceasefire,
right?
And Trump is still saying it.
And we still have blockaded the strait for Iranian oil, and so they are starving.
Everybody's starving.
Iran is starving.
Yeah, and so other countries, because
in the meantime,
not letting anything through.
U.S. production of oil continues to rise. Venezuelan production of oil continues to rise,
but we're not enough to fulfill everything, and that's why the price of oil
is increasing. So it's not like this loss of what's going through the strait is there forever.
If Russia would stop and say, look, we're going to give this project up, and they opened up their markets.
Well, I would not expect Russia to say we're going to give this. They will say, we have accomplished our objective, so we're willing to stop.
Correct. I think so. We got rid of the
Ukrainians
threats.
Will say the same thing, sort of. They'll say, we have stopped the Russian military and we won.
I would lean towards the Ukraine winning, because the Russians' stated objective was to take the country over.
I have all kinds of people on the internet that tell me, no. They stated it was a limited military operation. All they wanted to do was to take these disputed territories.
Yeah, that's what they were taking, while they had a battle plan to take over the whole country.
I agree. Yeah. From me, objectively, when you send in a strike force to kill or capture the leadership in the capital, you have a plan to take over the whole country.
And they claimed that we'd take it over in 3 days, and everybody agreed with that, including our military.
I was one of those who didn't think they could hold out. I was surprised and amazed that they did, and I think most of the world was.
But I know what you mean, and they're what their story is this is a military operation. We succeeded, but whatever, because
Russian leaders who fail in military operations tend to go away.
Now, Trump stayed in Washington, D.C. all weekend, and he skipped his son's wedding.
Yeah, I heard that. I thought something is going on.
Well, some people are out there saying him and his son are having some friction or something like that. But he obviously was there talking with everyone involved in this conflict.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I suspect that is a reasonable way to look at this, is that Trump is not focused so much on the Iranians coming to a deal, but everybody else in the area.
Well, correct. I think correct. And they think
who cares what the Iranians do if everybody else in the area says we're not going to let them do this, we're not going to let them do that.
Now, Trump has said that the reason that he held off on the kinetic energy, the continuation of the conflict, and is being so patient, is because of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and Bahrain have all asked him to give us more time, and they've been engaged in some of them have been engaged in actually some covert operation to take out some of Iran's stuff. Also, Saudi Arabia has been.
Yes, you're correct, and who knows all the details of this Byzantine great game stuff that might be going on.
Don't know, but it's really interesting. Now, he held a conference call on Saturday in the White House. Another reason he was home. On the phone, he had all those leaders: Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and Bahrain, all at the same time, all on the same conference call. And I didn't get an opportunity to cut in on it at all.
Boy, wouldn't that be wonderful to understand what was being said? Because what I read is that virtually all those people hate Iran with a passion. Well, they hate the theocracy, let's put it that way. And so they're all gung-ho on keeping Iran
nuclear free
as a non-threat to them.
Yeah. And they agree with the non-nuclear proliferation into Iran, because Iran's fired on these guys. Most of them, not all of them, maybe, but most all of them.
A whole lot.
And in some of them, a lot, like thousands of missiles to United Arab Emirates.
I don't think they've fired on Egypt at all, from what I recall.
I don't know if they fired on Turkey. I wouldn't mess with Turkey either. These are kind of...
And they have gotten people angry at them.
Oh, yeah.
But they've been angry at Iran for a very long time.
But nobody wants to say anything, because you don't want to get involved in that mess, because they would
Iran has been the big bully in the area.
Yeah, and they're going to smack you. And they don't care what happens to them. obviously.
Well, that's at least, yes, that appears to
Where
be
all
the
these
dynamic.
other countries, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, they got tourism, they've got businesses, and they're all doing really well. And they don't want to disrupt that with a war.
Right.
They don't seem to anyway. Well, Trump said, he put this on Truth Social, that it should be mandatory for countries, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, to join the Arab Accords as part of any broader agreement involving Iran. He argued that the pact would bring power, strength, and peace to the Middle East. Well, that's pretty bold.
Trump has said early on, if you're going to think, you might as well think big.
I guess he did.
And this is big.
But a few of them have already joined.
Yes, a significant number
have already joined that. But he says negotiations with the Islamic Republic of Iran are proceeding nicely. It will only be a great deal for all, or no deal at all, back to the battlefront and shooting, but bigger and stronger than ever before. And nobody wants that. I believe all that. He says, I stated that after all the work done by the United States to try to pull this very complex puzzle together, it should be mandatory that all these countries, at a minimum, simultaneously sign on to the Arab Accords. Those countries discussed, and he lists them all again. And he put down there, United Arab Emirates is already a member, Bahrain's already a member. Those are the only two he put on there. And he said, I thought Saudi Arabia was, but he doesn't list it.
They're not yet. But it's been rumored for a long time that they could join.
He says it may be possible if one or two have a reason for not doing so, and that will be accepted. But most should be ready, willing, and able to make a settlement with Iran, a far more historic event than it would be otherwise.
And what this really is, it's a settlement of the 1948 war of Israel to maintain itself and to exist.
If Trump could get that to sign, let's say that he gets this signed tomorrow, where the whole thing with Iran stops, everybody signs the Abraham Accord, Chuck Schumer will hoist him on his shoulders and parade him around as the best president ever.
There's this old saying, and I think it's true. It illustrates things that if Trump walked on water, the headline would be Trump can't swim.
Correct. Correct. Well, and that's what I thought of when I read this. I said, if you could pull that off, if that's even possible, how could what are the Democrats going to say?
They're going to say,
what?
What? Israel is bad and did everything, and this is just the Jews taking over the world.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the Democratic Party has gone almost full-bore anti-Semitic.
I think they're just going to say Trump can't swim. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we live in interesting times.
I don't think him pulling this off is a high likelihood.
I don't know
that everybody signs. Sure. I mean, he even phrased a little bit. Some have some reasons, but
but I mean,
and it couldn't. But if they did that, even if they pulled off a peace deal that actually does disarm,
there are a lot of reasons for most of the countries in the Middle East to want to keep Iran down and not a threat.
Yeah, like the whole world.
Well,
with the exception of Russia and China.
Because
they love it that it's a pain in the
Yemen
side.
is kind of like they've been ruled by an Iranian proxy, the Houthis. So I mean, all of the Iranian proxies will hate it.
Look at Lebanon. Lebanon's already said they want to kick the Hezbollah out.
Well, right. And they've also been talking about trying to get the Israelis out.
Of course, now Hezbollah is trying to take over the whole country because we can't have that.
Basically, Hezbollah ran Lebanon for many years.
Right. They got whatever they wanted. And I think Lebanon finally decided we didn't get rid of these guys. I mean,
well, they had the opportunity because the Israelis said, we're not going to accept, having people around us who want to destroy us.
So we got all these countries that are allying with with Israel to help them with their conflicts.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
I guess I don't know that I would say as much they're allying with Israel as they find common enemies.
Yes, probably. Well, it's like during World War II, right. we allied with
Stalin.
Yeah, with Stalin.
And so there we are.
But I think that was a big, amazing step too.
Well, without Russia, I don't it's really doubtful that we would have won.
It just didn't create a long-term effect like Trump is trying to do.
Well, they tried. Roosevelt thought that he could bring Uncle Joe along. He was wrong. Uncle Joe used him.
I know.
Instead of the other way around, but he thought he could do that.
And then they never repaid the Lend-Lease and all that kind of stuff.
Right. I mean, but Russia,
in fact,
was a huge part of the machine that stopped. Stopped the Nazis,
and we were a huge part in keeping them alive.
We were. I mean, I think without either, if America had not entered the war, or if Russia had not been committed to the incredible expenditure of men that they did in World War II to survive, we very easily could have lost.
Yeah. Trump says Abraham Accords have proven to be, for the countries involved and all that, a boom and all, which he says that the reason for this is the Abraham Accords have been great for them, and they'll be even better for everybody and bring true power, strength, peace to the Middle East for the first time in 5,000 years. It will be a document respected like no other.
Well, Trump is always engaged in hyperbole, and that's fine. You got to listen to what he means,
but it being impactful is absolutely true.
Absolutely correct.
Maybe let's take a phone call. You're on the air. Hi, Gilbert.
Hey, Dean, you just said something that sparked a little twinkle in my eye and opened up my brain. Now you're going to suffer. You're right about Uncle Joe and Roosevelt. You're right that we needed the Russians to help us defeat Nazism and Hitler. You're absolutely right with that. If we had to go against Russia at that time, our troops would have been really thin.
I agree with you.
And the winter was coming in. We saw what happened to the Germans in the winter there. And the same thing happened with
Napoleon
in Vietnam.
Oh.
With Vietnam, we listened to a lot of different people. We thought they were on our side. They weren't. And we saw how we helped the Vietnamese, right? The troops, the South Vietnamese. And after we left, what happened? How long did it take for them to surrender? 2 weeks?
Well, we cut off all their supplies. The Congress refused to send any supplies to them. They basically run out of ammunition and fuel and planes and tanks and everything else.
A lot of it was because they weren't helping themselves during the battle.
Well,
they would run off.
I think there's truth in that. I think there was a division.
The fact that we wasted so many lives, and it was a war not to be won. Like they say, we didn't lose the war. We gave the country back to South Vietnam. They lost the war. It doesn't matter. We lost 58,785 troops.
Well,
we lost a lot.
The Vietnamese say they lost millions.
Yeah. Well, their land, our bombs. We expect. And I'm seeing the same thing again today. All of you guys are talking, Russ is talking about this and that. Trump is getting egg in his face. He might sound good on paper, but what are we seeing? Nothing.
I disagree.
Well, that's okay. How many times has he said we have a treaty coming? How many times have we heard that? 5, 6
just
times?
a dozen. I don't care.
A bunch of times.
Yeah.
That's part of that whole negotiation thing.
They're playing us. They are playing us.
No question.
It's becoming the same song and dance.
Yes. But with some exceptions, though, Gilbert.
It may depend on who you are saying that they are.
Well,
I think Russ and I are talking about they being the Iranians, and I'm not sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
okay.
The Ukrainians have been doing this for 47 years. They frustrate everybody.
Right.
And
exactly.
I'm saying, they have been playing us for how many years? 45 years?
47.
And now that we have a great president in there, they're even playing us more.
Of course.
They're trying to. I'm not sure they're succeeding.
Have we got peace?
I think it's succeeding as far as there's no peace yet.
Well, I disagree.
But I think Trump has turned it on. They're paying more of a price than we are for it. And
when was the last time we had an American casualty over there?
Well, that's because we don't have troops on the land.
Oh,
well, we didn't have troops to begin with. They shot them in Kuwait, I think, last time.
Right, we had some people involved with the aircraft that we lost.
We had people die. We have Americans die.
Yeah, I know.
All I'm saying is, get in our bombers, quit talking, show them that we really mean business.
A lot of people agree with you.
It's a song and dance routine, and Americans are getting tired of it. I'm speaking to a lot of veterans, Russ. It's not just me, but a lot of Vietnam veterans are saying the same thing.
No,
sure does look like another war.
I think there's a lot of people that agree with you. I do.
You're right. I mean, not that I think you're right. A lot of people are saying that, and it's just different than we haven't put any people invading, and we're probably, I don't think we're going to.
No, what I'm saying is the same, they're all saying the same thing, the same song and dance. They go, we're going to have peace, they blah, 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 treaty. Then our president says, yeah, we have a treaty signed, blah, 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 blah. And what happens? Nothing.
Well, he always says it looks good. He doesn't say it's ready, but that's what they're working.
So Gilbert, a major.
He said it's ready. He said that a couple of times already.
Well, he says it's close. We're getting there. It looks good. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
Trump is superlative in his statements all the time. You have to take that into account.
I think he's playing them too.
I agree.
I think the Iranians thought we would fold weeks ago, like Obama did.
Right.
And send him some money, or Joe Biden, and send him some money, and then say everybody that, hey, we got a great deal, and we don't. Trump won't take a bad deal.
Well, see, you all don't see what I see. I see us spending a lot of money.
On what?
Which to the point where there's too many. Trump, and God bless him, he is fighting too many fronts. Here in America, and overseas, and all the crap that's going on against him. How many presidents have been an assassination has been tried on as much as Trump?
None.
Well,
how many presidents do we have that we had the White House shot up?
A couple. Yeah. Reagan did. I think a few of them did. Yeah.
Just one time.
You're correct, Gilbert, but I think the reason for that is because Trump is accomplishing great things, and so he's making a lot of enemies who don't want the status quo changed.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, this is what, like I said, he's having too many fronts. If he stops Iran right now, cold-blooded stops them, that's one less thing he has to deal with.
Sure.
Then he can concentrate in America.
Well, so that's a point.
But let me ask you, Gilbert, should he just sign a deal and allow them to keep the uranium, and just so we can get it over with?
No, I didn't say that.
That's what
I asked.
The bottom line, we went in there to get rid of it.
Right.
That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
Go in there and get rid of it. Has it happened yet? No.
Well, I think we're on the way.
Well, it's buried under rubble because they blew it up, but they want to retrieve it.
We want to retrieve it. And that was the whole purpose of this whole thing, to go inside there and retrieve it.
Well,
whether it's us, Russia, or anybody else.
So, Gilbert,
all it is, it's a spinning wheel.
Gilbert, do you think there's anybody in Iran who can make an agreement now?
Doesn't matter. Well, that's what Gilbert said. Just open up the bomb doors and let them just obliterate the rest. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
if we're going to do it, do it.
Yeah, whether somebody to negotiate with or not.
That's the only way we're going to change the regime. Is to get rid of what they have.
We've already changed it in that the people who were in charge are dead. So
I think Trump is looking at it totally differently, in that he wants the cooperation from all the countries around it to keep it down forever. I don't disagree with it. I'm as impatient as you, Gilbert, though. I mean, I'm looking for that.
I'm just tired. I am just tired of this. Oh yeah, and I'm tired of the news. Even Fox News is getting redundant.
On what?
In the report and the reporting.
Okay.
It's the same old. But what I'm seeing is, again, the White House gets shot up. People are shot, and it's all because there's too many fronts.
You think that's why the guy in the White House was crazy and shot at him?
No. He shot up the White House because he could.
Yeah. Well, he didn't actually get into the White House. He got in.
Well, he got killed.
Yeah, he got killed. Yeah,
he never set foot outside the vestibule there to that they checked. Yeah.
Another reason for the ballroom.
Yeah, another reason for the ballroom, buddy. That's what it is.
Yeah. Hey, let's call it Monica Lewinsky Ballroom. We also
Not
had
my
that
choice.
guy we also had that guy just got freed, right? The one that we were trying to kick out of the country, and people went down to him and defend him and all that. The judge says, "No, we're going to release him."
You mean the Maryland man?
Yeah, isn't that the Maryland man? Yeah, the one that
I don't even know where he is right now.
Yeah. I'd have to check.
The senator that went to had margaritas with him.
Yeah, he's an idiot. Yeah.
So he said he's going to host him at his house or something, or what?
Well, he's freed. They freed him. Didn't the judge release him?
I don't know.
At one time, yes. I don't know if he is still.
Yeah, he still is. That's what came on the news the other day. So there's just, like I said, so many fronts right now.
But they're all interconnected.
All I'm saying is that all these things that are happening, that the president is his defense is spread wide, very wide, and we need to get back to basics, get America back. I hope the midterms, we win. With all these Democrats throwing out the F-bomb like they have lately in the last few days, I just can't believe what's going on in America.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Bye-bye. I think he's discouraged. I mean, he's ready for it to be over. I understand it, but with that attitude, that's why Iran knows us and knows that the public won't put up with a long-term hold-off, so they're willing to sacrifice whatever to keep their regime together.
Yeah, that's their strategy.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's going to work against Trump. And
no.
I'm just not as pessimistic as Gilbert is on this, because we're not expending huge amounts of money because we have to pay for those ships and people anyway.
Wherever they are. It was Alberto Garcia is the guy, Maryland man's name. And I looked it up real quick, and he is still released, although Homeland Security's not done with him. They're still.
So is he got an ankle bracelet? Is he on probation? What?
Well, it just says a legal file regarding him is continuing. I mean, he's going to be in court forever. I mean, until Homeland Security gets him out, because he is an MS-13 guy.
Well, he's also here illegally.
Yeah, he's
and
here
there's at least the last I heard, there was a trial going on about his actions.
There's more coming. It's not over. Let's take a phone call. You're on the air, Carl.
Hey, good morning, fine gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
My 2 cents for the day. I thank God every day that we have a president like President Trump is doing the art of the deal.
Mm.
I agree.
It's causing some impatience, though. I understand.
Well, it's kind of hard for people sitting up in the bleachers bitching about what's going in the field, but that man knows exactly what he's doing. He would rather sit down and make money with you than to meet you down at the OK Corral and have a shootout. So
yeah, that's what he's trying to push in the Middle East, I think.
Well,
I think that's exactly what he's pushing in the Middle East.
Yeah,
let's all make money and not fight each other.
Yeah, well, look down at Venezuela. Is that, from what I understand, those people are starting to sell oil again? And they're getting their country back.
Yeah, they are.
Right.
Yeah, they're getting the proceeds from the oil.
The Venezuelan oil production keeps going up month by month by month because they had degraded it so badly.
I don't know how much, though. I mean, there's a lot of that infrastructure going to take time to rebuild.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I have read that it's increasing. I haven't checked how much lately.
All right.
But the more Venezuelan oil they pump and goes out, it relieves some pressure on the Strait of Hormuz stuff, and that money goes into the pockets of Venezuelan people and to the U.S. to some extent. And the other thing that happens, although I hate the high gas prices, those high gas prices are from high oil prices, which means U.S. oil producers are banking a lot of money, which allows them to explore and develop more sources.
Yes. And the other thing that I see, he has a very, very good chance of getting Cuba straightened around where it's a peaceful money-making country again and get rid of their dictatorship.
Yeah, because they're failing so badly. I mean, the people are starving. They're very hard for Cubans to get enough to eat. the electric power's on maybe a couple hours a day in most places. I Cuba really is failing as a country. It's become a failed state.
They're probably ready for Iran to be over too, so Trump can get into Cuba and do something.
You know, and I think one of our biggest advantages is that our communication between countries is so great anymore that it's kind of hard to hide the evidence of what's really going on.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
As for us, are lucky enough to listen to the Russ Clark show, we know what the hell is going on all the
time. Well,
we try.
Russ and I read a lot.
Yeah.
And we try very hard to separate truth from non-truth, and you have to work at it because there's a lot of non-truth out there.
You have to figure out what sources.
Right? Yeah. And then compare them to what you know, and does this make
And then
sense?
I still come in here and argue with Dean. Yeah.
we still disagree on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but that's really how you keep the ship of life straight, is by being able to agree and disagree.
Sure.
And then when you get all done, you go down and you say thank you, and we'll have a great America.
Oh yeah, Dean and I have never stepped out and duked it out at all.
I think you're exactly. I think it's one of the great benefits or great strengths of the United States is that we have this continual discourse, because you just do not have it in a lot of other countries.
I don't know if that we have it as well as we need it here either. It turns up devolving into, well, you're a racist. So
that's what we've seen lately. Yeah. I mean, but in general, having that freedom of speech means things get debated.
Right.
Weaknesses are exposed. You find out what's really strong and what isn't.
But
all of that.
Right now, there's been so many hearings and things that the Democrats won't even go to them.
Yeah.
They just boycott everything unless it's part of their agenda.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of a little kid saying, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Yep. It's a waste of my time. Yeah. Not going to do it.
Well, if you really want to see what the Democratic life really is, just go down on one of them protests that are on the corner on 16th Street when they're down there. And then on the 4th of July, you can come up 16th and 24th and see what the patriotic people think about the United States. So
yeah,
yes,
we'll be there. I talked to Derek the other day about it, and I'm going to take equipment. The only thing I'm looking for is a Wi-Fi. I don't have a modular Wi-Fi. I'll have to figure that one out. I don't know if that business on the corner will let us use theirs. I don't know. I'll have to go buy and something.
Well, yeah, because I really need to go by and talk to him and let him, which they are very, very, very nice people.
Yeah. Find out if they got a Wi-Fi we can tap into. They might be able to do that. If not, I'm gonna have to find somebody with one of those portable ones. I used to have one, when I had the motorhome run around, I'd have a portable Wi-Fi, but I don't have it anymore. But we'll see.
Well,
I'll find something.
I bet just from you asking, we need a portable Wi-Fi, I think it'll show up and we will have one.
I've been very fortunate. That's happened before. Stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, I think there's some we the people out there that have one in their pocket.
Yeah.
Because it's just I don't, because I really don't know. It's just an advice to hook you up to the internet, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot of portable ones where it works off of cell tower technology and stuff usually. Yeah.
All right. So I bet one shows up.
Thank you, man.
Have a good day, my friend.
Bye-bye. Mr. Carl. And Gilbert mentioned the expense of all the stuff that's going on over there. And a lot of times that expense is really not a number worth looking at, because they're clocking the expense to have an aircraft carrier. Well, we're going to have one whether it's there or not.
And you have to operate them.
And we're going to have all the troops somewhere, whether they're there or not.
So you're paying their base pay no matter what.
Yeah. But I looked at this Memorial Day article about all the people in the Middle East. There's 50,000 troops in the Middle East right now.
Okay.
But that's only an increase of 10,000. There's already 40 that are regularly staged. I didn't even know we had that many normally staged in the Middle East.
It's been a hot spot for a long time.
Yeah. So actually getting this, if this Iranian thing could work out to where it de-escalates, maybe that 40,000 will become a lot less.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. To me, I look at this.
Although it should be in
that
Europe
we've
too,
been-
be less.
Iran has essentially declared war on us and been warring against us for 47 years.
Yeah.
And this is Trump figuring out how to stop that.
Right. But right now, there's an additional 2,500 Marines, 2,500 sailors, 2,000 Army soldiers from the 82nd Airborne Division, which they just arrived. And they're not saying where they're at. The Army paratroopers are keeping it on, to themselves on where are they located.
And I love that President Trump is not telling everybody exactly what he's going to do next. And that's part of strategic ambiguity that keeps the other side guessing and uncertain and off their balance.
It does. Even has Gilbert guessing and off balance. Gilbert doesn't like it.
Well,
he wants to like wrap this thing up. And I think a big Jack Keene's been saying the same thing, General Keene, that that's what they're going to listen to. The Iranians not going to listen to anything but the kinetic. And I would imagine Trump would have already been in there, except for the other countries that have asked him not to. I know those are the countries that are neighbors out there.
Yeah, Trump is really good at taking very complex problems and figuring out how to make the puzzle fit together to our advantage.
We'll see. Time will tell. Let's talk Sandy. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning. I love hearing all the facts and figures. And Gilbert might not have intended this, but this is what it sounded like.
Okay.
It sounded like he was saying it was President Trump's fault that people were shooting at him. And I find that repugnant because I don't believe that would be happening if it wasn't for the Democrat Party. And everything he said, it sounded like he listens to the media. The media keeps pushing, Iran.
Yeah.
Trump's tried to point out that there's a lot less time that's been spent and a lot less deaths, though all deaths are bad. And yesterday's speeches were just outstanding from President Trump, from J.D. Vance, from Pete Hegseth, and so on.
I think you're right.
It's just wonderful.
Of course,
Trump if that's what Gilbert meant, that's just repugnant to me. He didn't mean that.
Trump has blamed himself. He's blamed himself. He says the only reason they do it is because the only great presidents have assassination attempts.
Well, and that's the point I was making.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are opposing him so strongly because he's making very fundamental changes in a positive way.
Yeah, it's not that he's doing something wrong. It's that he's doing everything right, and the opposition party will kill him for it like they did Charlie Kirk.
Exactly.
But the implication that I got from Gilbert is he's doing something wrong.
I agree. I think
he's involved in too many things, blah, blah, blah.
I think Gilbert made the point he was trying to make the point that he has too many fronts. If he came back, he could fix this where people don't attack him. I don't think you're going to fix that. I think you just make sure that
when you have. Go ahead.
I know. I just think you can make sure he's secure by having a great Secret Service, which we do. And this guy didn't get any distance to him at all. He was stopped immediately at the entrance. Then they already knew who he was.
And a point that I tried to make and maybe wasn't so clear about is that all this stuff is interrelated. If we keep the Iranians from fomenting hate and war throughout the region, then everybody wins and everybody gets more successful, which means we have less expenditures we have to do, and we don't have to worry so much about the Middle East. So then we can use our forces elsewhere to keep the peace going. It all comes together, and our enemies really, really love the idea of the Iranians keeping us bottled up in the Middle East.
Of course.
Right. Well, I really like what you said there. That was very succinct. And I really like the fact that all those leaders spoke to President Trump. And then another part of that truth is he said that he also spoke to Bibi Netanyahu.
Right.
I can remember years where people said the Middle East is going to blow up. Well, we don't want that to happen. We don't want that at all.
That's biblical.
And if he can,
of course.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would be horrific.
Yeah.
And Iran, has the mentality, and I was asked my husband, were the Persians like this? And we don't think so. But the mentality to promote violence and to actually kill people.
Well, they've been doing
they
it.
send the terrorists out. They pay for the terrorists. So if we could just get that stopped, just think about how many American lives we could save and other people's lives that don't deserve this. And I hope that President Trump is successful. I know that a lot of us are like, I'd like a mystery solved in 1 hour. That's the way we kind of think. And we have been disappointed by what happened in Vietnam. That was very bad.
Right.
And, but I don't think that you can compare what President Trump is doing to Vietnam.
Nope.
Because our military was unleashed. And I think President Trump is interested in peace. If he can get them to be peaceful, instead of blowing the hell out of everybody, that's what his preference would be.
Yep. Build hotels and golf courses.
That.
Yeah.
It reminds me more of the Second Barbary War around 1805 or so, where we sent our Navy off and basically told the Islamic pirates who were enslaving our people there in the Mediterranean, if you don't back off, we're going to destroy you. And we made a settlement with them.
Yeah.
Well, that would be great. And I'm impatient too, but I just don't, let Trump, if he wants to blame himself, but please don't fall victim to saying, it's because of what he does in a very negative way. Because I like the way you phrased it, Dean. It's what President Trump is doing positively. And the Democrats, I really had a discussion. My husband and I had a discussion last night. We just think the whole problem with the Democrat Party is they're immature. The immaturity, and that's why you're seeing they promote this violence. And you see, no matter what the age is, apparently there were protesters at the cemetery yesterday.
Wow.
And I'm going like, you've got to be kidding me. I couldn't finish watching the video. I said, I am not going to watch that. That is so disrespectful. And, hopefully I wasn't being lied to because I didn't finish watching the video, but I thought, oh my goodness. And like I said, the speeches were just beautiful. The music was beautiful. And
the attitude on the left seems to be, we're going to make paradise, even if we have to kill 3/4 of the people in the world to do it.
I know.
Yeah.
The wrong thinking is just terrible.
It is.
Anyway, you guys are very smart. I'll get off the air and listen to some more wisdom because what you said, Dean, and what you said, Russ, is very good.
Thank you, ma'am.
And you helped me rethink things, rethink what I was thinking.
Take care,
so I
Sandy.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
One thing I always like to hear Sandy. She's so smart because she agrees with me.
See, that's what makes her smart, right?
Well, we all tend to have that kind of bias.
One thing
we like to hear what
she mentioned about fixing it. There's, fixing Iran, fixing the Middle East. There's so many people that say, could never fix it because it's gone on 5,000 years. You can never fix it because, and with that attitude, you're right. I've seen amazing things happen that makes me think everything's possible. I certainly don't know, but no one thought we could ever get Japan to do what they're doing now, being a Western type country and protective. And, they were against it, that you could never get those guys to do that.
Well, and that's something that we have done that's much better than most empires is we looked at our enemies defeated in war and said, we want them to become prosperous so they won't go to war with us again.
Right. And we did it with, after World War II, we helped rebuild Europe.
And part of this was we were worried about the old Soviet Union.
Sure. Soviet Union they're the boogeyman.
Right. So
I think China has been taking them over as boogeyman recently.
Yeah, but we didn't seem to recognize it until Trump pointed it out.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I think that whole thing looks like, from what Trump is pointing out, that they're willing to work as a group.
Yes.
He had them all on the phone at once, all those countries at once.
Yeah, that's just amazing in itself.
That want to have, so going different direction in that. So that's a great start of it. It's always a rocky road, but if we can get Iran taken care of with their help, it's so much better than us doing it alone.
Trump sees the big picture.
Yeah.
And I think by getting everybody together, he says, look, you guys have a lot more common interest than you have antithetical interest. They all work together and everybody gets richer.
Yeah. It's easy to say, but someone like Iran wants to own the whole area.
Well, that's right. But I'm not including Iran wasn't in on this conference. They were the sacrificial goose, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't think they were in. Nothing was said. And who would you have on? Whoever you're negotiating with. But Trump says he's getting closer and closer, and it takes a long time to get through their systems. I don't know. And Gilbert wants to enough already.
We've been going on 3 months. Stop it already. That's what I hear. And I'm thinking 3 months. And
it was May 11th is when ceasefire started.
Oh, no, I'm talking about since the war started.
Oh, since the war started. Well, that was only a few weeks before that.
Right. But I thought we were 2 months. We were 60 days in, and then we had the ceasefire.
Yeah, it's been 60 days if you include from the start of the Connecticut injury till today. It's been.
Oh, just turned 60?
Yeah, well, just turned 60 a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's it.
3 months altogether.
Start. And we've made such great progress, and people are impatient.
We probably lost about the same number of people we would lose in a training exercise of the same size.
Unfortunately. And there have been 13, I think. 13 deaths.
Right out there. And more people wounded and hurt, yes.
Yeah.
But in terms of warfare, it's tiny casualties.
It's just nothing's happened. Well, and even the shot down pilots were picked up. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do in a war zone.
Well, it shows you how overwhelming our technological advantages are.
And we gave up 5 aircraft for it and put hundreds of people at risk for it. It just shows you the commitment that military has to itself.
Well, I agree. Yeah. I think all of that is true. I would, you can play this game of always looking at it and putting yourself in the other person's shoes. And so the question is, where would you rather be? Would you rather be in the Iranian position, or would you rather be in the United States and Israeli position? And I'd say I'd much rather be in the Israeli and United States position.
A couple questions from a listener I always find interesting. I don't think he's a fan of Israel, but he says both sides support Israel. 90% of Congress takes AIPAC money. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
I've never researched that.
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. And probably nearly as many take money from United Arab Emirates one way or another.
Sure. And except for MAGA, most Americans don't support the war. I don't believe that it's less than 50% support the war. I think it's much more than that right now.
At one point I heard numbers of 60, but these are polls and they're very hard to be sure of.
And it's going, as it drags on, if it drags on and continues to drag on, then that number is going to change, even though it's only been 70 days or something since the start of it. But does superlative mean embellish or lie?
Does what mean?
Superlative. I think you said something about.
Oh, I think I said. I did say that he is always putting forth these hyper exaggerated claims.
Trump,
it's just the way he talks.
He does.
And it's, when you are trying to understand President Trump, you have to realize he's constantly using the superlative wording.
Well, it's always like everybody agrees with me, or there's nobody objects to this.
There's the greatest that has ever been in the history of the world. He uses that a lot.
That's Trump.
I mean, and I think he's exaggerating.
Probably.
And it's what, it's common, and you have to realize that's the case. There's that saying of take Trump seriously, but not literally. And I think that is true.
And then it's why do we allow Israel to have nuclear weapons? Well, technically, we don't. They don't technically.
Well, we know everybody says they have them.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to stop it? And why would we?
Right.
I mean, the question, it just seems like the question supposes some things that are questionable. Like, it's bad for Israel to have nuclear weapons. Is that true? I think it's probably contributed to Israel's survival. And it's an unfortunate fact of modern military effect, that countries that have nuclear weapons tend to be far less at risk than countries that don't have them.
I don't know that it's responsible for them being exist, because they're still getting attacked on a constant basis. They're still getting rocketed on a constant basis. Nobody's afraid of the nuclear weapons. I don't think the people attack them are afraid to die, to destroy Israel.
Got a point there.
I don't think so. Where a lot of countries that have nuclear weapons, nobody's going to attack them because they have it.
I'd say it's probably prevented the attacks on Israel from a major power.
That might be true. He says, you kill the leaders. Who do you negotiate with? That's a great question.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
A dumb move by the U.S. I don't know if it's a dumb move either.
I don't think so either, because it is regime change of a sort.
Well, but the people who are in there were so ideologically locked in. There was no negotiation. Exactly. There was never going to be a negotiation.
I mean, the obvious way to handle this is if you get somebody that takes power and they're not willing to negotiate, then you kill them too. I mean, that's
there's a movie out there with Bruce Willis called The Fifth Element, which I really like that. And at one point in that movie, and he's on this he's at this concert on a spaceship somewhere, and there's a big a lot of people there. One of the alien life forms comes in and takes prisoners, hostages, because they want to negotiate. So Bruce knew how to handle it. He says, I'll take care of it. And he walks in the room with a gun, shoots the lead guy in the head immediately, and says, who else wants to negotiate?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like what we have in Israel. I mean, in Iran right now, is who wants to negotiate now? And I think that was Trump's tactic, or the military's tactic.
Well, he's attempting it, and I think it can work.
Who else wants to negotiate?
And so I really don't know for sure what he means when he says things are going great in the negotiations.
And
I mean, it could mean that the Kurds are about to take over a good part of the country for a new Kurdistan. I don't know.
And Rubio has been saying the same things, and he's the one that's more engaged in the negotiations. Secretary of State.
He is undoubtedly more firsthand knowledge than President Trump, but probably not a huge amount. They probably talk all the time.
So because we've mentioned that, the actual cost of things, a lot of times they work into, well, how much does a carrier cost a day? Which we already have the carrier, whether it's parked in the Arabian Sea or it's parked at home. It's going to be the same thing. So some of those numbers are always exaggerated. So he asks a question, and a fair one. So why is the DOD asking for more funding to continue current ops? Can you explain that? Well, there's always going to be some increase in costs. I don't know if the DOD is asking for more funding. But
there was I think the Trump administration is proposing a budget for next year that is a considerable increase.
Oh, that's big. But that's for Golden Dome and some other stuff.
All kinds of stuff in there. And it's a fair question, but I did read an analysis about how much the U.S. spends on defense in general.
Yeah.
And it with the increase, which is a significant increase, we'd be up to 4% of GDP. Well, we're demanding that the Europeans spend 5%.
Correct. And that's all correct.
And it's much less, historically during the Cold War, we spent about 5% or a little more.
But we don't spend the percentages that we ask of NATO even.
Right.
But we always say, well, we spend so much more anyway, just raw dollars.
So there's a lot of truth in that. But if you're going to have Pax Americana, which is freedom of the seas, ability of countries throughout the world to engage in commerce, you have to have somebody who can enforce it, who can prevent small conflicts from blowing up. And we've essentially had relatively few major, I would say nothing like a world war since World War II. I mean, even Korea and Vietnam were relatively small, contained conflicts. People will disagree with that, but it's true. I mean, we lost what, 500,000 or 600,000 people in World War II. How many were killed in World War II? On the U.S.
Oh, in the U.S.,
600,000 or so around there.
I know that was a civil war. No, it was less than that.
Yeah, if you add up all of the conflicts that we've been in since World War II, it won't even come close to one World War II. So Pax Americana, which is the continuation of Pax Britannica, because basically we took over Great Britain's role of maintaining freedom of the seas when after World War II.
It's only 412,000. See, that's not that big. Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge amount of people.
You mean since World War II? Or?
No, in World War II.
In,
died during World War II. 600,000 was the Civil War.
Okay.
Of course, we're taking casualties on both sides.
We're not talking just casualties. We're talking about people killed, which there's a lot more casualties than that.
Yeah, but it was died. 412, 976
right.
died during World War II.
So the cost of maintaining world commerce comes from somebody willing to enforce it. Yeah. And that unless we want every country, every little podunk country having pirates that go out and stop merchant ships and capture them and like existed before Pax Britannica, somebody has to do it. And we have sort of lucked into it and we do it. So that's if you want to go back to a multipolar country where you can't depend on going from one place to another without getting shot at, I just think it would be detrimental to everybody on Earth. Everybody's standard of living would drop, including ours. So I think we need to keep a Pax Americana, and I think that's what we're doing.
The another question from this listener, which only great presidents, of course, we said it, great presidents, only great presidents. That was a Trump quote when he said that's why people are trying to shoot him, because only great presidents have attempted assassinations and stuff like that. That's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I'm not disagreeing because he is moving a lot of change.
He is,
and there's people that want to shoot him because of that alone. You know, the left that
absolutely
was making so much progress under Biden on the chaos they wanted us to have, that Trump just cleaning that up. But he says it may not mean much, but currently Trump is ranked around 43rd of 45 presidents by poll of historians.
These are all progressive, ideologically leftist historians, or most of them.
But
because that's the way the universities have been going for the last 50 years.
I think also because he's in office still, we don't even know what he's going to accomplish right now.
You know, I've seen these polls before. You can get a result on any poll you want if you structure it the way you want to get the result you want. So you ask a bunch of progressive leftist historians what they think about Trump. They don't like him.
Right. And then is worship of Trump going against the first commandment?
Man, that's funny.
That's a great question, actually. I don't know. There's a worship of Trump, but I think that's what the left looks at is it's an unnecessary or unearned worship or something.
What's that? They have a name for it, where you have a person, a cult of personality.
Yeah.
And there is some of that around Trump. There is. I mean, it's real. I just think it's mostly justified. We have not had a president for decades and decades who's been as willing to confront the status quo and change enormous amounts of things that most people want changed.
Right.
I mean, people, it's been about 70 to 80% of people wanting the immigration system stopped at the border for decades.
Right.
And nobody was willing to do it until Trump did.
Yeah, he just makes it look easy, right?
Right. But I mean, it's hugely consequential.
This one I'm not sure about. Did your guys forget how Israel got their nuclear fuel? The intelligence community is certain that Israel stole it from the United States.
I have no idea. I don't know anybody can prove it one way or another. I would not be surprised if they got a lot of information from the U.S. I mean, I wouldn't, because we were the leader.
But did they get it, do you think, through spying, or did they get it from somebody that took it, that says, don't tell anybody where you got this?
My guess is that they got it the same way China gets its information, where they have a lot of people in American universities. And there's a lot of, the understanding of how to make nuclear weapons has been out there for quite a while. It's a question of the exact numbers, the exact geometry, and that's not out there so much. So part of the reason that you can say the Israelis got nuclear weapons is because, frankly, they're some of the most technologically adept and smartest theoreticians in the world. I mean, if you look at the number of of papers that are done, of their technological expertise in Israel. It's just amazing.
Well,
the number of Nobel laureates, it's huge. So did they steal it from the US? Yeah, maybe they did. Kind of maybe the same way that China has stolen so much from us.
My son being at the Air Force Academy, he talked a lot very positively about the capabilities of Israel. Now, keep in mind, Israel's 15 million people.
Right.
It's
like
amazing. It's like nothing. And their capabilities, particularly in aircraft and stuff and pilots, is not only, we've obviously trained them in a lot of that because it's a lot of military hardware that the United States has. But once we did that, they modified, they changed, they improved, and they became better than us. And in fact, they're kind of like the envy of a lot of the pilots, and they get more airtime, they get more training, and they get
when you're in a battle for survival, you tend to focus the attention very well, and they're also extremely adept.
But how many countries have we done that to? I mean, we were doing that to many countries that just take those planes and run them into walls and stuff. I mean, and they just don't end up doing with it. And like Afghanistan was one that we trained and trained and trained and trained, and we didn't get the same results we did with the Israelis. Same with the Ukraine. Look how much training we did in the Ukraine, and we had.
First off, I think the Ukrainians have done amazing things. So I would.
No, they took what we had and improved on it.
Right.
And
but they're in the middle of a war for survival.
Yeah. And a lot of these other countries that we've done this to, that we train and put them in there, and we have our special forces teach their special forces all that, and they just don't hold it together, and they don't improve on it and all that. The resourcefulness of Ukraine, the resourcefulness of Israel is kind of amazing on these countries that are surrounded by overwhelming power and are able to say no and hold up.
Well, it is, and it is amazing. But it's this question of whether Israeli stole nuclear weapons. It's the Israelis have had this relatively, extremely close and special relationship with the U.S. in large part because they're the only real democracy in the area.
I think we should give nuclear weapons back to Ukraine. I mean, we took them out with a treaty from Russia and the United States that we would never let anything happen to them, and we both broke it.
Well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Now, the fact is that Ukraine did not have really great control over those nuclear weapons. They were Soviet-era weapons that they inherited from the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had the codes to operate them or not. They probably could have figured it out. But at the time, and that was just right as the Soviet Union was falling apart, people believed that it made sense for the people in the Soviet Union, Russia, and the U.S. and Ukraine to all say, let's get control of these things. And part of that is we will limit them to the old Soviet Union and us and not to the old Soviet satellites.
Of course, we got a lot of people with nuclear weapons now.
Well, not huge numbers. I mean, we've got North Korea, China, Pakistan, India.
Yeah.
Probably Israel, though I don't think they've ever confirmed that, but I'd bet they do.
United Kingdom.
UK and France.
Yeah.
And
but
us.
Does Germany?
No.
Okay.
Germany does not. But how much do you bet that they could have one in a few months if they decided to? And the same with Japan. I think Japan could have nuclear weapons in a few months if they decided they really wanted one.
Well, they have a lot of nuclear technology.
Well, they do, but they're premier technological leaders in the whole world. And Germany used to be.
We left off North Korea.
No, I said that.
Did you? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I think North Korea was.
So we got the whole list. That was it.
So, and the theory is that the more countries have nuclear weapons, the more chances you have of them being used. I'm not sure if that's 100% true or not. I guess the more unstable leaders that have nuclear weapons, the more chance they have of being used. But it would take a particular kind of leadership that wants to commit mass suicide. Like Iran.
Yeah. Most people think Iran would have used them by now.
That is common wisdom. And I suspect it could be true because they have this end of days philosophy that they can bring about their apocalypse at the end of the world if they destroy Israel, and they have talked a lot about how they could do it with nuclear weapons. So, and probably they've said many things that are contradictory. I mean, it's not unusual for countries to do that.
Owning a weapon like that, though, it's got to be hugely expensive just to keep it maintained and keep it up. It's
yes, it tends to be.
Not a lot of countries want it. I mean, and North Korea wanted it because they thought it changed their status.
Well, it changes their status. I mean, there's no question.
Did it really, though?
I think it has.
Do we like them more now?
No, they don't care about being liked by the U.S.
Do we
They don't want to be
them?
Yes, I think
were we going to invade North Korea ever?
It was. If you read the history of the Korean War, they as we were winning, and the Chinese troops came in to prevent us from conquering all of Korea. Right. They were extremely concerned about us taking over, and it was only because China intervened that we didn't.
Right.
So it's a good boogeyman for them too to maintain power.
Yeah, they seem to. They support them. They kind of keep them afloat.
Well, I'm saying for the Koreans, the North Korean leadership, to claim that South Koreans want to invade that the U.S. is behind it, and that we would all be there, and it's only their military that keeps us from invading. That's the storyline they give to their people. I'm not sure it's 100% untrue, but it's a useful boogeyman for them to have to keep power.
Well, we keep close to 30,000 troops there on the parallel, but. And that's not going to stop the North Korean army, but I guess it's
well, it's a trigger because it says if North Korea tries to invade South Korea, the U.S. will be involved.
Yeah, well, obviously, we've got our troops there now.
We do.
You'd have to run over them to get to South Korea.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So, in a weird way, when I look at it, trying to understand the other side. And I try to get into the minds of the North Korean leadership. They're kind of in a box. How do we tell our people that the South Korea is no longer a threat? And still stay in power. Well,
do you really believe we pulled our troops completely out of South Korea that North Korea would attack? And I don't think either one of us could really know the answer.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, first off, the South Korean troops are pretty effective in themselves.
Yeah.
They've developed a very strong military. Seoul is really close to the border. It's under threat, no question.
Let's take a phone call. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
We're doing well.
Is your CDL up to date?
No.
Well, you better get it because we need truck drivers. They just got 300 of them.
Who did?
300. So they found 300 that were not adequately licensed or something.
Yep, foreigner. Illegals.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of illegals
that are still driving trucks. And did they all have California driver's license?
I don't know. They're not. They're not going to give that out. Come on, man. You know how the press is.
Yeah.
Well, Elon Musk is producing his electric semi. And it's being sold gangbusters, and it's capable of fully autonomous driving.
It'd be a while before we turn those loose, I think.
Well, there's a group that's operating a route, and I don't know if they're using Tesla trucks. I really don't know. But from Dallas to Phoenix, and they claim they're doing it regularly.
Yeah, it's a straight run. I mean, it's nothing
that is,
complex.
and it's all really good freeway.
They run with no drivers.
That's what I understand.
I should hitch a ride.
I don't know. I've cleaned up a couple of wrecks from drivers dozing off and all. I've even dozed off myself in my service truck one time, like scared the heck out of me.
Yeah, well, it's a serious problem. The nice thing about these autonomous vehicles is they got 8 eyes and they never get sleepy.
Right.
Right.
I would think that if we had 100% AI on the road, we'd see highway deaths fall to nearly nothing.
I tend to agree.
Well, if you're not behind the wheel, how are you going to die?
Well, you're going to be in the car. Passengers die too.
Yeah, right.
No, the new one's coming out with bunkers and all. Wet bars and bunkers.
Yeah, wet bars and bunker. Yeah, that's what we need.
Well, I wonder about that. I've thought about that, and obviously you have, Ted, as well. If you don't have to drive, is your car going to come with a bed?
It can.
Everything.
It can.
Fully loaded.
Yeah.
You know,
take a nap.
Have a workstation in there, so you get your day's work done while you're driving off to your while you are being transported to your vacation spot.
Right.
And so anywhere within 1,000 miles becomes a vacation spot.
You can play Nintendo all the way to St. Louis. Yeah.
Dean, this is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping somebody, I don't have the brain power for it, but I'm hoping they will come up with this little mini reactor. And you can run steam however you want to do it. Just a little mini reactor that goes into a vehicle. It lasts for hundreds of years, so you don't ever have to worry about fuel.
Yeah.
And that solves the pollution problem on the highway.
Yeah, you can say, look, I drive this car. It cost me nothing to drive it, and it was only a $2 million down payment.
Yeah. Well, I know that there is a company that is working on very small fusion reactor that you could be small enough to put in a truck. Now, it could happen, Ted. Now, it might cost a couple million.
Yeah.
But that's just the first edition. By the time we get 20 years from now, they might only be down to where every big truck has them.
Right.
Exactly. If we could just overcome the force of gravity, you wouldn't need anything but just blow out the window.
We can do it now. It's just we use a complex technology of wings and propellers. We overcome gravity using lift, but it's complex and pricey.
Right. Yeah, I'm talking about something so far in the future that it's hard to imagine. But once you know how to remember the old Hungarian guy down in Florida. They built the thing out of coral blocks and all. I forget his name.
Down in Florida.
Florida, yeah.
Yeah.
St. Augustine, I think. Was it right?
Well, I read about him, and there was a lot of detailed investigation, and it turns out he was really good at using levers.
Well, here's what a couple of people snuck in there at night while he was working, okay, because he let people help him, but there was only certain ways they are allowed to help him. Well, they cased the place out one night, and on top of his tripod that he used for lifting the coral blocks and all, this was all by himself, a little guy, smaller than my grandfather from Hungary. And he had this box that sat on top of this tripod. Nobody knew what it was. A black box that sat on top of the tripod. And he was moving tons and tons of stone by himself.
Right. Yeah, people have investigated it, and they looked at this box, and they found that it was a lot of gearing and clockwork, and basically it kept accumulating energy, like with water drip, and then it would incrementally lift them a little bit, and then it would accumulate, and then it'd lift them another little bit, and over time you could lift a lot of weight very high, and that's what he did. And he did this over and over again, built incredible stuff.
We're not talking about St. Augustine then,
I don't know. We're talking about the guy in Florida who lifted all these huge weights.
St. Augustine was built in 1672.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. No,
this guy built it for his love. He wanted to marry this woman, and he built it for her.
Did he get her?
And then she told him no. After he went to all of these.
That happens with fair amount of frequency.
See how women are.
But he did build all this stuff. I mean, and people wondered how the heck did he do it? And you can go online and you can do some research, and you'll find out that they figured out how he did it.
Right.
It's kind of like the pyramids. How does somebody do this? Well,
they still don't know.
If you use technology and leverage and gearing and all this stuff.
Here's one thing I think you've heard of. White gold. You know what white gold is? You've heard of white gold?
I've heard of it.
Well, I've heard it.
Investigate. They investigated when you get a chance.
My hearing is it's platinum combined with gold, but go ahead.
I don't know. all I know is when you put it on the scale to measure, to weigh something against it or with it, everything gets lighter than the total mass.
No, I
They
haven't
don't understand why. Yeah, read up on white gold and its properties.
Yeah.
But when they put it on a scale to weigh it, everything weighs less than the total combined weight of the scale.
Well, that'd be wonderful stuff if it was true. It wouldn't be hard to investigate.
I wouldn't have to take a Ozempic then.
That's a good point. I like
our own Defense Department studied it because of the scientists they had working for them was doing it. So you can go to the Defense Department under modern technology or something. I forget what part of it is.
All right.
And they were thinking about making planes out of it.
I have not heard of that, and so I may have to look into it.
All right, buddy. I appreciate the call.
Okay, thank you guys. Have a good day.
White gold. Now, I did have a friend, Ray Jensen, who was a scientist that helped build the Polaris missile and all that kind of stuff. But he ran a shop here in Yuma called APE for many years.
Okay.
But I had a lot of talks with him, and he told me about some stuff that the government has that's anti-gravity. And he says it's on the periodic chart, but it's not there, but it would be, and it would be at this place right here. But the problem with this material is that after you get it together, create it, it starts attracting radioactivity. So it can only work with it for a few times until it starts becoming so radioactive you can't get near it. That you get, but that was Ray, and he said that the United States built something that works like an elevator, it just goes straight up with.
It's been the subject of science fiction stories since I think H.G. Wells had one like that 120 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Calvarite, I think they called it, or whatever.
I have no idea. I didn't. If he told me, I don't remember. But he said that they worked with it, over there, Groom Lake and all that kind of stuff, and it worked and everything. It just you couldn't control the radioactivity of it.
You're saying it was impractical.
Yeah.
At some point we will understand gravity enough that we may be able to figure out a way to use the electromagnetic and other forces to affect gravity. We do right now.
Right.
I mean, you can take a magnet and it will suspend above the Earth's surface. You can put one magnet on the other and it will push the other magnet up for a short ways.
Just like witchcraft. Yeah.
So, it's not impossible for gravity to be overcome with other forces. It's just complicated and expensive.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they figure this one out. But Ray thought it probably came from some alien technology that was recovered from.
Yeah, there's been a lot of theories about that.
I know. There has been. We talked about weight loss for a minute, or white gold, we lose weight. There's actually, and I told you this at the beginning, Lilly has come up with a new experimental medicine that you could take that's more effective than the current Ozempics, the GLP-1s. That's scary, but they're expecting it to come to market. Of course, that's why they develop anything.
Is it does it have to be injected?
It doesn't say.
I mean, that's one of the big problems with Ozempic.
Well, they've got something Ozempic-like that is a pill form now, but I don't know if it's the same. It helped people lose 30% of their body weight. About 85 pounds in a late-stage clinical trial.
Yeah. Okay. So these are people who are obese. I mean, seriously,
they are, and they said the results are on par. Bariatric surgery. Now I've known people with bariatric surgery, and they can't put enough food in their stomach, to gain weight. Period. If you wanted to, you can't cheat.
Well, right, and my understanding is because it blocks stomach volume.
Yeah.
That they don't actually feel hungry either.
Correct. And there's a great chance of them being malnutrition because they're going to eat what little they eat. It's going to be junk food, and they're not necessarily getting nutrition. And that's a danger.
Well, anytime you're talking about massive weight loss like that,
that's very dangerous.
It's fairly dangerous. The idea
Because
is you want
to
do it very slowly over years.
But this drug is helping them lose 25 to 35% of their total body weight within 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So they've been working on it. Susan Spratt said this is the largest weight loss I've ever seen on any medication trial. Endocrinologist and the senior medical director of the Population Health Management Office at Duke North Health in North Carolina is who she is, and she was not involved with the trial, but she said this is huge. And Retrulutide. I don't know what that is. He says it's the same class medication as Wegovy and Zepbound, which I thought said GLP-1. It mimics the hormone called GLP-1. However, this one is a so-called triple agonist. In addition to GPL-1, it also mimics the hormones GIP and glucagon.
So I guess the question I would have is, if you take this and you lose a lot of weight, do you have to continue taking it forever?
A great question, and I would assume the answer is yes, or change your habits.
Well, I had heard, and maybe you can correct me, Russ, that with the Ozempic, you have to keep on taking it. It doesn't stop.
I've never heard that, but I have. I mean, it's just common sense to know if you lose it because you're taking Ozempic and you get off of it, you better go on a 2,000 calorie or less diet and you can maintain it. But people don't.
On a lot of
people
things.
don't. They don't.
It's I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of research going on, obviously, because of all these drugs coming out and because we have a severe problem of people being overweight in the U.S. And it's not hard to understand.
But they did a 3-phase trial of about 2,300 patients with obesity who are overweight. The drug company did not publish the full results in the medical journal, but participants taking the highest weekly doses, on average, 28% of their body weight, about 70 pounds. So very obese people,
that's huge,
with nearly half losing 30% or more.
Wow.
A trial ran for 80 weeks. A smaller group of patients with severe obesity continued to take the drug for up to 104 weeks and lost on average 85 pounds.
Okay, so 2 years, 85 pounds. See, that's less than a pound a week.
Yeah.
Which is considered to be the correct rate of weight loss, not to cause severe problems.
This Ozempic thing is getting to be just astronomical in the number of people taking it. I mean, I know quite a few people have taken it, and they do get results, but it's scaring a lot of doctors. I mean, it's getting results to the point that you've seen some Hollywood people and everything start looking like a Skeletor. Their face is coming in. They just don't know when to quit, and they're talking about nutritional loss, muscle loss. In fact, it's Dr. Boz that got on her blog and said she won't recommend it to anybody over 50, 55 because it's going to take muscle mass, and you can't afford it because you can't regrow it at that age as readily as a young person.
Well, I have started what I call a magic elixir, weight loss formula, which means I eat one Jack in the Box special edition meal a day.
And you're still doing it.
And then breakfast. And so far, I'm losing about a pound every 2 weeks.
Well, it's just like you're on this wonder drug, though.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And I exercise too. And frankly, I'm getting back to what I would consider my sort of normal weight. In the last 10 years, I put on about an extra 10 to 15 pounds.
I haven't,
which people say is what is normal for my age, but I don't like it.
I haven't hit my normal weight yet. I mean, I've been working on it, 2.5 years, and I'm probably down 40 pounds, 30, 40 pounds.
Huge amount,
in a time. But that's been a combination of watching what I eat at sometimes, and sometimes I get off the wagon, I gain a few pounds, I lose a few pounds, but I'm always trending down. I'm not.
Well, when I talk about this magic elixir, I've only been doing it about a month, and I'm down about roughly 2 pounds. So that's just barely measurable.
The people on Zepbound, which is a GLP-1, lost about 21% of their body weight over 72 weeks. So those things are far off, and we know the Ozempic, the GLP-1s are working for weight loss.
Yeah,
very expensive,
but we're not talking extreme weight like 3 or 4 pounds a week. We're talking about a pound a week or less.
Yeah, I guess.
My reading on this has always been said that you shouldn't be trying to lose more than a pound per week because it's not successful. You want a very slow, gradual weight loss so that at the end of it, you just taper off of losing weight and you just sort of stabilize.
My brother brought a new Harley Davidson. I say new to him, but a used Harley Davidson, which good for him. He just sent me another picture of it. I guess he'll ride it for a while. But there's so many of those Harley Davidsons that are sitting in garages somewhere.
Well, that's what,
because you get tired of them, or you just forget to ride them,
or you get older. I mean, I have a
Who
Suzuki.
the heck gets older?
I just don't ride it anymore because
You still have
frankly, yeah, I need to get rid of it.
Really, I like that little Suzuki. You used to ride it a lot.
Yeah, I did, and it's a good bike. But what happened, and I'll just be upfront about it, is that I went off to Australia, and I won't mention the person that I had to start it up every so often, and he didn't put any gas in it, and it's an injection system, and ran out of gas, so now it needs some kind of service to get it running again.
Shouldn't be much.
No, I don't expect it to be too much.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll give you a good deal on it.
Okay, I'll take it a good deal. Yeah, don't tell my wife because she worries about me being on a bicycle, and my bicycle's currently is not in good repair.
Yeah, no, I'm like 6 years older than you, and I just got to the point that I thought it was too dangerous.
Yeah,
and so I stopped. I mean, and plus the bike not being, I would have had to do some work to get it running right again. And I just have been so busy doing things I really enjoy that it sits there.
Yeah, my guys could probably get it running for you.
Oh, I'm sure they could. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of very specific stuff on motorcycles.
Oh, but they tinker on everything.
Oh, well,
maybe.
Right, I mean,
they would hate me for doing it.
Here's the thing. I don't have much incentive to get it running because
you're not going to ride it.
Right. So what I should do is let somebody else have it, so they get some use out of it.
Yeah. The Schlitz Brewing Company just did its last beer. I talked to you off air a little bit about that.
Yeah.
My dad used to drink Schlitz.
I have drank Schlitz,
which I have too, because
it was about 50 years ago.
I've stole it out of the
probably
refrigerator.
A little over 50 years ago.
But Black Label, Pabst, Old Milwaukee, I don't think any of those are really around much. Pabst might be.
There's been a lot of concentration in the beer market, and there's also craft manufacturers that have come up and doing well.
They've done very well. These boutique type crafts, which I love beer. I just can't drink it anymore.
I'm just
it's not good for me.
Not much. I've never, since college, I pretty much gave up drinking, and it was a smart move, I think. I mean, it's not like I absolutely don't drink. I mean, if it's really hot and somebody offers me a beer, I'd probably take it. But I just don't drink enough to be a really good drinker. I drink so little, and I'm reminded of that. There was somebody in a famous book called The Millionaire Next Door, and the millionaire was asked, "What kind of beer do you drink?" And he says, "Cheap and free."
Yeah,
so Schlitz was tended to be cheap.
Yeah.
But people thought it was perfectly acceptable beer.
Well, Schlitz was founded in 1849 when Prohibition ended. It was America's biggest beer company.
Now, what year did you say?
1849.
That's what I thought you said, but then I thought you said Prohibition.
It said when Prohibition ended, it was the biggest beer company.
Oh, okay, because 1849 and Prohibition ending didn't
I'm
go
sorry.
together.
I probably didn't state it properly. But when Prohibition ended, it was
America's biggest. Okay, yeah.
And one of Milwaukee's largest employers. So they really came down a lot when Prohibition in like 1930s or something.
It was ended during the FDR administration, and I think it was pretty early, like 33 or 34.
Okay. And so when it ended, it was America's biggest beer company. One of the largest employers, and continued to success by the 1970s. It was struggling to compete. So something happened. And these big companies that have the markets, I don't know, they just stop being creative. They start being marketing.
Well, competition comes up. And there was, Schlitz was kind of it tended to be pretty local. It probably got distributed all over the U.S.
Yeah.
But Wisconsin has always been a beer drinking place. and so
Yeah.
who knows what exactly
What else
happened.
is there to do in Wisconsin other than hunt and drink beer?
Well, there's a lot of stuff to do to Wisconsin, but I don't want to go on a diatribe about all the wonders of Wisconsin where I grew up. I mean, it's a decent state in a lot of ways. It has its advantages and disadvantages like any other place. But notice I'm living here.
Yes.
So I like Arizona better.
One of the biggest beer companies that, of course, when I grew up and everything, was always Budweiser, Bud Light.
Yeah.
After that, I mean, Bud Light hadn't been around as long. Used to be just Budweiser. I don't know when Bud Light started.
Oh gosh, I read the history and I've forgotten it.
But they obviously just kept doing the right things, doing the right things up until recently when they got into
they went woke.
Thing. Yeah, went woke. And they fired all those marketing people. They're all gone now, and they're trying to get back to basics. But
they lost a lot of market share.
All these beers are so similar that the one that wins is why. What is it? It's a marketing.
Apparently marketing is a big deal.
Yeah. See, but they Schlitz, they let go 200 employees in 1981. More than 700 employees hit the picket line. The company announced it was shutting down. And they sell to Stroh Brewing in 1982.
There we have
They couldn't handle the union.
I was going to say that could be one major problem why they weren't able to compete, because maybe the union busted them.
And then it was acquired by Pabst in 1999, relaunched in 2008, unable to capture any of its magic of the prime. I think it was already seen as when they started getting into financial trouble, they started putting in cheaper ingredients and stuff. So they had some problems.
I have heard that.
And then,
I read that somewhere.
And then it's gone. Last one. I don't think anybody. We've got thousands of beers, thousands of them out there with all these micro beers or microbreweries and all that stuff.
Right.
It's a different market, and I don't know what the top is now. I mean, it was always Budweiser was one of the more popular.
So, have you heard or do you know if overall alcohol consumption in the U.S. is going up, down, or staying
the same? Down.
Down.
And a lot of it has to do with millennials and stuff. I mean, apparently they're cheapskates. They go and they'll only have a couple beers,
or maybe they just got more sense.
More sense.
I mean, there's been a tremendous propaganda campaign, and I think justified, to say don't drink. Well, at least don't drink much, and if you do drink, drink at home.
Yeah.
And the number of deaths due to alcohol probably decreasing.
Oh, yeah. Mothers Against Drunk Driving started that stuff.
Well, it was going down before that. And just if you have less people drinking, you're going to have less deaths.
And the penalties of getting behind the wheel is so huge.
They're getting really close to draconian.
But the people that are good at it, they don't do it once. You get these guys, they've been arrested for their 15th, 20th DUI or something. They're just people with real problems.
It's
but it's mandatory jail time now. It's not a small deal.
I think I've had friends.
You've had friends?
Yes, who would get a DUI. And I'll tell you that what they have to go through.
Oh, man.
It's huge cost and time and money.
Oh, you get on a list of insurance, high risk.
And it can be it can be a mistake that it's hard to recover from. If you don't have the resources to comply with all this stuff, and compliance is not easy.
Yeah, we installed those things in the cars where you had the breathalyzers in the cars.
How much does it cost to install one?
I don't remember, but it was expensive, and sometimes it's mandatory.
Right. And it's just, I mean, it goes on and on and on. And this, I just, a friend of mine who just had to go through this, and they were extremely careful to try to do everything exactly right so that they could get this off their license.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
And it was huge amount of money, huge amount of time. And the bureaucracy was not very responsive.
No.
I mean, you'd think, oh, I did all this. Now I should get my license back right. Oh, well, you got to see that bureaucrat. Oh, you have to get this report. And it was went on and on and on.
Well, I know it affects you, not only the fines, the legal fees, because people usually get a lawyer.
And what you can do.
Right. And
it's and if you are of very modest means, if you're just getting by, this can put you over the edge.
Yeah, you're going to be riding the bus.
Well, if you can, I mean, people lose their jobs. And then they start getting into this poverty level where it's almost impossible to get out of the cycle.
For some people it would be. Yeah, but I've known some that have had DUIs. It's an embarrassment now, and it didn't used to be. It was, like way back before Mothers Against Drunk Driving. The cops would say,
50 years ago, I encountered where, at that time, this culture in Wisconsin is people went out to the bars and they would drink a lot and then they'd drive home.
Yeah.
And there were all kinds of horrible tragedies that happened. And that's part of why people reacted against it so strongly. And so now it doesn't happen as much.
And there's some people that are alcoholics that have a high tolerance.
Oh, yeah.
And they can have a blood alcohol content that would kill most of us.
Yes, I knew one of them.
And they act somewhat normal.
Well, they are very high performance alcoholics.
Right.
But the problem is that for most people, it degrades you over time.
Of course.
That eventually it catches up. But you may go on for decades being very high performance. And occasionally you get somebody who just genetically must be different, like Churchill was, where he drank enormous amounts of alcohol every day and was a super high performance. And I think he died in his late 80s.
He had a great liver, huh?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Because it's.
But most people, it doesn't work that way.
No, it'll hurt you.
I told you I had a friend who died recently, not that long ago, the last 6 months, I guess.
How old was he?
63.
Young.
He was.
Yeah.
And he was, man, it was just so sad because when I knew him in his prime, because I've known him over 30 years, and he was had to be one of the most capable people I ever knew. I mean, amazing linguist, so capable with computers and guns and locks, and he was, a spook essentially, and he did amazing stuff, but the alcoholism caught up with him.
Yeah.
And it killed him eventually.
So addicted he couldn't quit, or did he want to?
I watched him try extremely hard.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't do it. He just could not do it.
Yeah.
And it was sad.
It's very unfortunate. Texas runoff today. Cornyn and Paxton. It's a really big deal.
It is.
And it's a lot of a lot of barbs thrown around. A lot of people are upset. Trump has backed Attorney General Ken Paxton to run for
and it was very recently that he made that endorsement.
Like a week or so ago.
Yeah. Really. He was not, he said, I haven't decided.
Right.
And then finally, right at the wire, he threw it to Paxton.
Well, John Cornyn's a current senator running for re-election.
Right. But he is.
And he's also a friend with Thune. Right. And Trump tried to use that as a leverage to get Thune to pass the safety thing.
Yeah. Back me on this. I'm looking I haven't endorsed anybody yet. Yeah. Do the right thing.
And he wouldn't.
Right.
And so Trump just eventually backed Paxton, and Thune was pissed, I understand. And he left. He shut down the Senate early, I guess, so he'd go home and help.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't become another John McCain.
I don't know.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Let's destroy the country because they're not we're not keeping us the way we want it to be.
And Thune is not going to help with the SAVE Act, and he's the president of the Senate, and he just hasn't, he gives it a little lip service, like, we're going to try it. I don't think I get the votes. I don't know if I get. Your job's to get the votes, and he doesn't have any passion for it.
Well, that's exactly the way it appears, and it's super popular.
Oh, like 85% of the whole nation wants it.
Maybe 80, but yes.
Yeah.
And you talk to people and they go, what? Because the old media does not cover it.
No, and the Democrats, pretty much 100% of the Democrat leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying, nope, we're not going to do it. No, we're going to fight it.
Yep. The idea of having an ID in a national election,
not necessarily.
Why, that's horrible. That's against our democracy. Why, if you have that, we might lose our democracy. Gee, maybe democracy would come around for everybody then.
Last I looked on the poll numbers, Ken Paxton was ahead by 8. Like 40.
I was going to say, if I had to bet, I'd bet on Paxton.
Yeah.
And I used to be a big Paxton supporter.
I still am.
And I support him because I think he's the better choice.
And he did a great job as Attorney General, and I know he's got some
had
hiccups.
some problems, personal problems.
Yes, it was with the wife for one of them, and they're
Right.
using that right now in there that his wife is leaving him, and
it seems to be that politicians in general have a hard time with sexual morals.
And I didn't know what caused the breakup with the wife, and I take it was some of that.
That's what I understand, and it's I'd love to have angels for senators, but it's not an option.
No. Well, we take the senators too. Tallarico is the Democrat, that likely Democrat, and he is a mess. He's as progressive as anybody wants to be.
He's way far left, and I just I don't think he can win in Texas.
He beat Jasmine Crockett for the primary.
Yeah, he did.
And Jasmine Crockett had great name recognition.
Well, but her, I don't know that she could have won in Texas.
She's
either.
A mess herself.
They will try to use Paxton's personal problems against him, and I just don't think it'll be enough. I think he'll win in the primary, and then I'm going to say he's going to win in the general.
Well,
too.
one of the reasons that John Cornyn is saying that you need to vote me in because Paxton can't win in the general, and that's if you use that as your rationale, I think you've already lost.
Well, and Paxton has already won a couple of different, I think twice in Texas in a general election running for the attorney general.
Oh yeah, he's a politician,
right? And he is he plays hardball. He really does.
Now,
I mean, he and there's reason for it though. I mean, they've used lawfare. The left has used lawfare against Paxton, and they failed at it. He beat him. So he's very hardcore, and I think he will be a great Trump ally in the Senate.
Well, John Cornyn has not, although he says he is. Now, Trump says John Cornyn is a good man, and I worked well with him, but he was not supportive of me when times were tough. John was very late in backing me in what turned out to be a historic run for the Republican nomination and then the presidency.
Correct.
And he also was the one that voted to impeach Trump, to get him out of office.
Yeah, that was insane.
Like, what are you doing?
And he's a Republican.
Yeah, and he's a Republican, and he did
the
all
whole impeachment thing was a farce.
It was a joke, and it was after he was even out of office.
Right.
And he still voted for him. And that's just a very bad. Now, Paxton's grabbed a lot of national attention over dozens of lawsuits that he filed against the Obama and Biden administration. Right. And then he was just good at his job. And he really fought. And I think people like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Paxton said John Cornyn fought Trump on the border. And you go back over about a decade and see that he was not for the border wall. He also argued the senator fought the president's reelection. He fought him in 24, said his time had passed, and he fought him in 2016. So this is not a pro-Trump guy.
Right.
I don't know if we could be any more different on the Republican issues than John Cornyn and me. So there's a vast difference between two of us. Now, Cornyn disagrees. He says, I don't know much more. I don't know how much more I could be with them than 99.3% of the time.
Yeah. Except if that 0.7% is on the really critical issues.
Well, I don't know. I that may be his hyperbole.
It is. I think it's hyperbole on his part.
One of my listeners says Tallarico is favored to win against either Cornyn or Paxton, which is true. The current wins are very close, but it does show that Tallarico somehow takes lead in Texas. I don't believe it. And I think that's because we have the differences between Cornyn and Paxton. We don't have one. And I'm guessing that, once that consolidates,
you certainly have all the negatives being pushed on both Cornyn and Paxton right now. So that could explain it. And of course, we don't know all the internals of that poll, and polls can be designed to get you what you want, and a lot are.
Yeah. In 2023, the House of Representatives, Texas House of Representatives, voted to impeach Paxton.
Yeah, that's the part of that lawfare I was talking about.
He was eventually acquitted of all charges by the Senate.
Right. See, they didn't like Paxton because Paxton was going against the grain. He wasn't just go along to get along.
No.
And a lot of Texas Republicans have worked with Texas Democrats to prevent the Republican Party platform from being enacted.
Yep. And also, Paxton's dealing with a very messy divorce.
Right.
With his wife citing biblical grounds based on recent discoveries, filing last year to end their marriage, which is a killer in an election when you got a guy going through that. But apparently strong enough to be ahead of Cornyn. And yes, in the election in Texas, it's tight. And right now, Talrico would be ahead of both of them.
Well, by whose poll?
I don't remember, but I don't find it wrong.
I just find it.
Look, Ted Cruz.
I stand by my prediction that Paxton will win the primary, and then he'll win the general.
Ted Cruz at the time was behind that crazy Democrat.
Yeah, that's correct. And and she was really
I'm thinking of the
way
guy
out there. Well, there was a woman.
Ted Cruz has been in very close fights and very expensive. They've been some of the most expensive ever, and he's won them at the end of the day. But the polls never were very positive for Ted.
I remember back in the I'm going to go way back into the 80s, and I remember thinking at the time, how is it that so little money is spent on politics in the U.S.?
Are you kidding me?
In the 80s.
Oh, in the 80s.
And there was much way less. I think it's probably less than 10% that's being spent today.
Oh, okay.
And the reason was because there were very few major issues that were really being debated. It was kind of a uniparty system. And, everybody kind of went along, go along. Today, we have major issues that are being decided, like whether the republic will survive or not. And so huge amounts of money are being spent.
Cornyn goes on to say, talking about Paxton, and he's been attacking him more than he's been promoting himself.
Yeah, that's always a bad sign.
He's gotten more and more emboldened as he's gotten away with the scandal and mischief that now is very well known. But were he to be the nominee and be exposed to the general election voters, especially independents, I think he's going to be a very rocky time. So he's more like, vote for me because I'm more electable.
That's what he's saying.
And
I don't think it's true.
And he says that Talrico has hauled in $27 million in fundraising, which is amazing. But so did the other Democrats running for Senate in Texas. They always seem to bring in a lot. He did that in the first 3 months. Cornyn said there will be an incredible tsunami of Democrat funds coming in against Paxton, if he were the nominee. Conversely, if I'm the nominee, we'll be able to shoulder the burden pretty much on our own. I won my last election by 10 points. I think I can do similar against somebody who's as far left as radical as James Talrico.
Yeah, well, I think Paxton can do that well too.
Well, and I think Cornyn should jump in and help him if he loses.
Well, he should.
But that doesn't always happen.
Right.
In fact, probably won't happen. Cornyn says, I don't think anybody could honestly argue that we haven't fought hard to make the case here.
What
talking
case
about
is he
his
talking
campaign?
about?
His campaign.
Yeah, but all he's running on is I can be elected and the other guy can't. Where a lot of people, Cornyn is not super popular in Texas. He's just not.
Right. Well, he says that I've worked too long and too hard to help build the Republican Party in Texas and in the United States Senate, and to keep Texas the envy of the nation when it comes to the opportunities of pursuing the American dream. So let that go to squander it and let it go without a fight. So I'm still optimistic on the outcome, but obviously it depends on who shows up. So he thinks he's the superstar.
He's 74 years old too.
I know. Yeah.
At the
he
end
seems to be okay.
At the end of his term, he'll be 80.
He doesn't seem to be Bidenistic or anything.
No, he's better shape than Biden was, and so he's my age.
Yeah.
But man, I like I said, I stand by my prediction. Paxton wins primary, then he wins the general.
Well, we also have a Texas runoff for Attorney General, and Chip Roy, who we know, he's 4-term representative, and he's got a name for himself. Does pretty well. He's running against Senator Mays Middleton, the president of an independent oil and gas company. And Middleton, who edged Roy out in the March primary, put $17 million of his own money into the campaign. Woo. And that's always nice when you have 17 money. in that. But Roy, a former Texas Assistant Attorney General and former Chief of Staff to conservative Ted Cruz, he's got a large surge in funding from major taxes. Doesn't say how much. Roy said, we've gotten the financial support necessary to compete with the self-funder opponent who's got his inheritance money.
Yeah, so is Mays a Democrat?
I think they're both Republicans.
Or is this a primary?
No, the primary's over.
For the Attorney General, yeah.
I think so.
Okay. So
maybe this I don't know how Florida. I mean, I don't know how Texas works actually. Because the election isn't until later. So no, this is still primary stuff.
Right. So
I guess
Texas
they had a runoff or something.
They,
maybe
they can have a runoff primary, which is probably what this is.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
Well, this seems to be the final.
The final runoff.
Yeah, the final one. This will put it in. I don't know exactly how it works. Roy says, having been the first Assistant Attorney General makes me ready on day one. But it's also that I've been a prosecutor. I've been in court. I've sat in front of judges. I stood in front of a jury and argued cases. And he has never done any of those things. And we think those things should matter. Middleton, of course, this goes on. Roy's betrayed MAGA, and he's pointed to the times that the congressman has broken with Trump over policy. Is Trump? I haven't seen that Trump's supporting Roy or Chip Roy or
no, I haven't seen that.
I would have thought he would.
He did.
But I don't know.
There's the I think it's District 24. I'm trying to remember where there's the upstart gun blogger defeated the Republican incumbent and is now in line to become elected in November for that district. I might have the number wrong. I think it's 24. And and Trump endorsed him. So,
okay. Well, this politics in Texas too is it's a contact sport.
No, it is. It's hard.
Middleton continues on talking about Chip Roy. He says Chip Roy is someone that has spent a decade fighting the president, which I put a question mark in. I thought Chip Roy was in line, but maybe, I don't know. He actually said President Trump committed impeachable conduct on the House floor. Instead of spending 10 years fighting President Trump, what have I done? I've spent 10 years fighting to defeat the left, which is what matters the most in this race.
I think he's got a point. I think a lot of voters will see that as positive.
I don't know how much of that's completely true or his. I don't know.
Well,
I always thought Chip Roy was a decent guy. I like
how
him. How
much truth is there on the campaign trail? Well,
sometimes there's some.
It's not always easy to discern the truth.
Well, Roy comes out. This just shows how popular President Trump is. I mean, they're fighting each other by, I like Trump more than you do.
Yeah, right.
Roy says, everyone knows I'm a longtime defender and supporter of the president's agenda and the first America First agenda, the MAGA agenda. And I'm also an independent thinker. I'm both, who thinks I can stand up and make a case. So all these guys are fighting to see who's a better supporter of Trump, which is amazing. It just shows Trump's popularity, why the left is saying he's been losing it. Not according to this stuff.
No, you're correct. I think this is, I've said it before, it isn't the old GOP. It's now the Trumpian Republican Party.
Sure. Middleton said Chip Roy's putting out there that he is a top ally to President Trump when the exact opposite is the case. This is no, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're
not. And, Trump could settle this by endorsing one or the other. But he hasn't yet.
Well, it's going to be over after today, I think.
That's right. So he hasn't made a choice, and he's basically saying, you both want to support me.
Trump wants to keep that 97% success rate when I.
Of course, this is for Attorney General of Texas.
Yeah, it's an important place.
It's an important position, but it's not in the Congress.
It's right, but it's been high profile.
It has been, and Paxton is the one who's made it high profile.
Yeah. He has been. I think Paxton's done a good job of it. At least in that. He may not be a good job when in his marriage.
I have supported Paxton because he's been on the right side of a lot of issues that I support. I've also, he's a politician. What can I say?
Yeah. He is.
And Somebody has to be a politician.
Of course, we've got Attorney General, too, that puts a lot of lawsuits. She's been suing Trump.
Right.
Like every chance she gets, she's very proud of it. She puts it out there that I'm
Yes, she
suing
does.
MAGA, and we're paying for that stuff.
And, you know, Paxton was doing sort of similar in Texas on the other side.
I read an article on the timeless truths behind the Declaration of Independence. Of course, we're coming up on the 250th anniversary, so we're going to get a lot of that, and I don't mind covering some of that stuff. And
Right.
It says the American founding, he wants to point out the Declaration of Independence does not begin with politics. Well, as much as we talk about politics, we're not going to get away from it.
It sets forward the philosophical basis of the politics of the time.
Yes. He said the rights it asserts are not the product of historical circumstances or collective will. They are grounded in a prior truth that human beings are created by God. The declarations appeal to the laws of nature and the laws of God. It's not ornamental or rhetorical. It's the foundation on which its entire argument rests.
Correct.
The founders believed they were obligated to explain to mankind the reasons for their separation, and those reasons started with God and his law, which I thought that was a great way to start this article. And it says, with the foundation, then we're going to proceed to the Declaration's most famous sentence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Now, he said it's often treated as a moral flourish or a proto-democratic slogan. In fact, it's a tightly ordered philosophical claim that proceeds in 3 stages, each dependent on the other before it. So that one got my attention. Everyone knows we hold these truths to be self-evident, and that's famous, that all men are created equal. The first stage, it says these truths are self-evident. They are not established by deduction, tradition, or positive law, but are known by reflecting on the observable world. Truths about God, human beings, and the good must be knowledgeable if human beings are to be responsible for ordering their lives and laws accordingly. To deny that such truths can be known is not merely to reverse political theory, but to undermine moral accountability itself. So,
that's true.
I like all that, and it would be self-evident. But it means it's established, it's tradition, it's positive. We know what it is.
Well, it means an observer observing reality upon reflection would say these things are correct.
Right. Second part, which makes the Declaration metaphysical claim, human beings are created and therefore possess a given nature. Equality is not asserted as a political preference, but affirmed as a consequence of creation.
Correct.
It follows from the reality of a shared human nature which exists because God created it. Human equality is intelligible only if there's something real that human beings equally are. So in that short sentence, they'll break it down as this. Now, whether this is...
this is logically correct.
Okay. And number 3, the Declaration draws on ethical conclusions. Because human beings are created in that way, they are endowed with rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that no just government may rightly violate. To say that the human beings are created by God is to say that they possess a given nature grounded in divine intention, not in change, appetite, or in contingency. This sequence is as divisive or decisive as it is brilliant. Remove any part of it, and then the argument collapses.
Correct.
Without a grounding in self-evident truths, claims about rights become matter of opinion or will. Without creation, equality loses its grounding in nature and becomes a political assertion to be enforced rather than a prior truth. Without both, liberty ceases to be a moral claim and becomes a grant of the state, which remains in a thinner conception of freedom.
Yeah, that's correct.
I thought it was well done. It was an explanation in a way I've never heard it before.
It is putting natural law theory in a very concise way, and that's what it is. It's explaining natural law.
And I like the way that they broke it down, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. In other words, everybody understands that these truths are true.
Yeah.
All men are created equal.
But I would say that all 3 things were attacked deliberately and by the progressives in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And they say, no, these truths are not self-evident. The founders were wrong. Evolution shows we weren't created. Yeah. And because of that, the liberty is just something granted by the state. And that's exactly what the arguments of the progressives were, especially Woodrow Wilson. And you could even put Teddy Roosevelt in there, I think. And the results of the progressive philosophy is how we got to where we are today.
My listener made a quick comment on that. It says all men are created equal unless you were a slave. If that were an omnipotent God would want, maybe he or she or it didn't care. And fair question, fair comment.
Yeah, it all fits right in with the progressive ideology.
Of course. And we know many of the founding fathers, of course, they knew the slavery was not where we needed to be and wanted to work away from it. And I think the Declaration helped.
I think they did. There's provisions in the Constitution, which was after the Declaration, after we'd won the Revolutionary War, and they're trying to create a more perfect union, as it says, that show that many of the people wanted to work away from slavery. That's why they only gave 3/5 of a vote per slave, and so that the slave states didn't have as much political power as they otherwise would. And that's why they put in the provision in the Constitution that they wouldn't outlaw importation of slaves for a few years to give the South time to adjust.
But in order to do the Declaration of Independence and later the Constitution, they had to take what was. I mean, everyone was born into it. It was generational. Well,
exactly. I mean, and slavery was worldwide and had been going on for all of recorded history.
And if they just flicked slavery off and said you can't have it, this would have never progressed.
They wouldn't have been able to. Yeah. I don't think there's some question.
But they put the tools in there too.
Well, right. And see, natural law comes in conflict with slavery.
Yeah, it does.
And so that's eventually how we ended up with the Civil War.
And I love what Lincoln wrote about that or spoke about that in his second inaugural address about the pain of the Civil War. And that something to the effect that, the lives lost and all that were equal to the scars from the whips of the slaves and stuff, that it was a retribution by God.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. I would have to go back and read it, but that
sounds
it's
beautiful. I don't think I've ever read it on air. I need to, but I'd have to read it a few times because the writing's a little different than what I'm accustomed to.
For sure.
Yeah. And this thing goes on. It says the assumption that creation is intelligible, that God is knowledgeable, and that human beings are responsible for acknowledging both stand for the foundation of the American experiment.
That's true.
It speaks of God as a creator, but says nothing of Christ.
Right.
It appeals to natural theology, but makes no reference to revealed religion.
Correct.
Does it leave us stranded with a deistic account of God or a thin moralism that cannot sustain the claims it makes? The concern is understandable, especially when the Declaration is contrasted with documents such as Solomon League and Covenant that explicitly confesses allegiance to Christ the King. Yet the objection rests on a misunderstanding of both the Declaration purpose and the relation between natural and revealed religion. The Declaration of Independence, precisely what a Declaration of Independence, it is not a confession of faith, a catechism, or a constitution. It has a specific and limited purpose to justify political separation from Great Britain by appealing to the truths binding all human beings as such. The absence of explicit Christological language does not indicate theological indifference, but a focus on the specific political question at hand.
Yeah, true.
And I think that's a great.
And having read what both people in Britain were saying, on King George's side, and the revolutionaries in the colonies were saying, they were both defensible positions.
Yeah.
I mean, you could. Basically, the king was saying, look, we just spent all this money and beat the French, and we had to do it on behalf of you guys, so you should pay for part of it. And the colonists are saying, well, we ought to have a vote in this. Yeah. And the king's saying, no, you're colonies. And that's where it really kind of started going awry.
Yeah, because most people did not want to break away.
Well, the most fervent of the revolutionaries, like John Adams, really did want to break away.
Yeah.
And he was a great strategist, and he was very effectual in creating the rift.
But maybe he just wanted the king to understand.
A lot of
they just wanted to understand
right.
and give us the right.
Even after July 4th and not July 4th, but the battles of Lexington and Concord, there were a lot of people in the Continental Congress that wanted to heal things.
Right.
That said, look, we can get
along
this.
with the king, but
but the king was adamant, and he demanded stuff that we were not willing to give.
And he punished Massachusetts, Boston, and stuff, and just really came down hard, of course.
Well, and it's not hard to understand where he's coming from. As a military guy, can say, look, you can't allow this.
Right.
You can't allow people to openly revolt, because if you put up with it, we'll get more of it. And either way is what happened, and we won, which was highly unlikely at the time.
Doesn't make sense.
Well, I see divine providence.
Yeah.
So did George Washington and almost all the revolutionaries.
Right, because you're
taking on one of the greatest powers in the world.
At the time, it was listed as that.
But of course, one of the reasons we won is that we got a lot of help from France, which was about as powerful as Britain. They were great rivals at the time.
And right. And that's why they helped us, probably.
Well, right. And France spent a lot of money. People don't realize how much support we got. We got a huge amount of support from France.
We don't get any now in Iran, though.
That's now. Back then, they spent a lot of money and resources. And I think the most common military arm used in the Revolutionary War by the Americans was a French musket.
Of course, there was a few others.
Oh, there are a lot of others.
I think Denmark had some, and there was some from Germany, but it wasn't official.
And we made some. We made rifles in the United States. Not huge numbers, but they were a very effective weapon.
Getting back to declarations, it was never intended to bear the full theological weight of American public life on its own. It established a common foundation. Does not exhaust the moral or religious commitments of the people who affirmed it. Just as Romans 1, First Romans, demonstrates that it's a clear general revelation that shows the reality of universal sin, and then explains our need for Christ. The Declaration threefold assertion of knowledgeable God and what is provided as a basis of path to salvation. This point to a second consideration, the Declaration's appeal to natural theology is not compatible with every religion or philosophical system.
Correct.
The Declaration's affirmation of God, the Creator, excludes belief systems that deny God, the Creator.
Right. And they exclude belief systems of God, the malevolent.
Yeah. And it presupposes that God is distinct from the world, that the world is created rather than eternal.
Correct.
And that human beings possess a knowledgeable nature grounded in that act of creation. Natural theology, in this view, it's neither trivial nor thin. It is full and clear. It tells us a great deal about God, about ourselves, and about the moral order.
One of the big things that the scientific revolution and just observers of the natural world at the time saw was that nature was predictable in a lot of ways. You drop a rock, it doesn't fall up.
Yeah.
And water flows downhill. Hot, it goes energy travels from hot to cold. I mean, it's predictable, and the predictability of it was one of the major points to say there's a creator. He made rules. The rules are followed.
And this article goes on and talks about the natural theory and the redemption, and that God redeems sinners and all that. And he said the founders were well aware of this distinction, that God redeems sinners who suppress the truth that they ought to know. He says the Bible was the most frequently cited book in their writings.
No question. It's been the most I think it's the most popular book that's ever been published.
Yeah. And most took for granted that Christianity answered the question of redemption.
Yeah.
Yet they also recognized that this answer could not be imposed by civil authority without corrupting both state and church.
And that was a huge change.
Well, yeah, because most countries adopted a religion.
Almost all countries had an official religion. I don't know if there were any outside anywhere that didn't have an official religion at the time.
But a lot of,
I don't know, in China, they sort of had Confucianism, Buddhism. I'm not sure if they had did they have an official religion in China?
I don't know. They don't now, do they?
Well, you got communism.
Yeah. But I like this answer about, because there's always that separation, church separation, like you can't mention the word church because there's a separation, which is not, we have freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. And this cited that they both understand Christianity, but to say that we're going to have the civil authority impose it would corrupt both.
Well, and one of the big things is that there were several different flavors of Christianity in the colonies at the time.
Still is.
And they did not like having a religion imposed on them from somebody else.
Right.
And so a lot of this freedom of religion was to make sure no particular Christian sect.
But this continues to be misunderstood even today. There's many atheists and stuff that out there that says, how dare you mention religion from a state? It doesn't say that we can't. It just, we freedom of religion and the state cannot.
Well, even at the time,
adopt just one over the other.
Well, at the time, this did not apply to the states. It only, once we got the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment did not necessarily apply to state governments. And there were states, I think it was Delaware, that had an official religion.
Did they?
For decades.
I know.
Before they finally said, we're not going to have an official religion anymore.
Okay.
But it lasted for 20, 30 years. We'll have to check the time.
The states are thumbing their nose at the feds all the time. They still do.
We still have that problem. They're doing it on the Second Amendment today.
Yeah. It said they had no interest in adjudicating disputes amongst Protestants, let alone, much less between Protestants and Roman Catholics.
Well, there you're singing my song.
The Declaration's silence on these matters reflects not skepticism about Christian truth, but a judgment about political competence.
Well, right. And they look at Europe and the horrific wars that raged throughout Europe between Catholics and Protestants and did enormous damage. And I think, and within Great Britain as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so they looked at that and said, we want to avoid that. We don't want that.
And the Declaration appeal to natural theology appears not as a theological retreat, but as a principled boundary. It affirms all that reason can and must know about God and human nature, while leaving the work of redemption where it belongs, in the proclamation of the gospel and the ministry of the church.
I'd say that's correct.
I like this a lot. I mean, this explained, I think, a lot cleaner than I've ever heard before.
It's a good essay. It puts it clearly together.
Yeah, and and it's been so misunderstood, particularly in modern times where we have so many trying to take church out of everything.
Oh, this has been very strong part of the sort of globalist, anti-American crowd. We have to diminish American success and power so that we can get a global governing body. And it's just not, I don't think it's worth it without the protections we have in America. I am not willing to give up my the Constitution and the Bill of Rights so that somebody can say what price oil has to be over the whole world.
Well, I've read the Declaration of Independence many times, but I didn't really get all, where you had a 2-page essay on those, on what, 6 words.
Yeah. Well,
which were impactful. I mean, everyone recognizes that phrase.
Right. I think
it's one of the more powerful ones in there.
I think it's persuasive But there are a lot of people out there who say, well, it's all bunk, that they still believe in progressive ideology,
Sure.
even though it, in my opinion, it has shown itself to be a false god,
Right.
and it doesn't deliver. I mean, it's shown its limitations. I guess that's the best way I would put it, because we have made a lot of substantial economic and technological progress under progressivism, but as it became more and more globally focused instead of American focused, it showed the problems that comes with that.
Right. I got to talk about Pope Leo a little bit, because he's making comments on AI.
Yeah.
He put out a clistical, paper or whatever, and I guess that's not done very often by a pope.
No.
But he says control of artificial intelligence must not remain in the hands of a few, which kind of scares me. I think government control of anything should be very cautious. And I know he's talking about governmental control, but to every government, I guess. Warning that technology is fueling world conflicts. Setting out his proposal in his first major theological document of his pontificate. So this is the first time he's come out with a paper like this. And it's, gosh, like, I forget how many pages. I haven't read the whole thing. I'm just reading this article on it. But
yeah, I've only read summations.
These include protecting the distinctive grandeur of humanity amid rapidly changing technology, and for the use of AI in warfare to be subject to most rigorous ethical constraints.
None of that has ever worked in the past. I mean,
No.
the problem is that we can set up war law and say you have to follow this, you have to follow that, but it has some very limited success. Usually, if those limited successes align with national interests, but I think his reach is far beyond his grasp.
Well, but it's always
his grasp is far beyond his reach.
It's always interesting. I'm curious about what he says. He says he said that the just war theory, a four-pronged Christian doctrine stating what conditions justify war, is now outdated, saying that military force can only be used for self-defense in the strictest sense. Now,
wow. That's an enormous change in church doctrine.
Yeah,
if he's saying just war theory is out the window.
Yeah, it's how outdated.
Wow.
Justify war. You can only do it now for self-defense in the strictest sense.
Woo.
Because a lot of people claim, well, I had to do a preemptive strike for self-defense.
Well, there's a lot of, just war theory expands on that quite a bit. So
this is pretty radical.
It is. It's extremely radical.
He said there's the litmus test for social justice. And I just cringe when somebody says social justice.
Yeah, because social justice is not justice.
Yeah, no. Litmus test for social justice is the treatment of migrants and refugees, and offered an apology for the church's legitimizing in slavery and delay in denouncing the scourge.
That sounds kind of woke to me.
Yeah. He said the use of force, violence, and weapons ultimately has disastrous consequences for civilian populations. Yeah, it's never bombs don't work well with civilians.
Well, I mean, it's like, sounds like the Pope is saying he's a pacifist.
Yes. But what's the consequences of having a state like Iran that wants to have death to you?
Exactly.
And you stand by and say, well, I'll pray for it. I mean, we got to,
he's really kind of sounds like he's saying, well, let's just submit to Islam and everything will be fine.
Well, that's what it would be in the long run. The construction of a world in a state of perpetual conflict is an evil and must be named for what it is. Humanity possesses far more effective and capable tools for promoting human life and resolving conflicts, such as dialogue, diplomacy, and forgiveness. And I would think AI could help us with that also, of getting around conflict. I don't know.
I of course you expect religious leaders to have a certain amount of separation from reality.
Yeah.
I mean, from what we consider reality anyway. But just war theory had reason. It had a lot of reason. It's been part of church doctrine for about 1,500 years or more?
Yeah.
1,600? Just throwing it out the window? That just... it just seems wrong.
Now, his opposition in just wars. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance recently, said that the Pope be careful when he talks about matters of theology after the Catholic spiritual leader fiercely criticized joint U.S.-Israel strikes on Iran and rebuked world leaders for invoking religious language to rationalize war.
Of course, we have exactly the opposite with the Iranian theology,
right?
Where theocracy, I should say, where they invoke religious doctrine all the time as their justification for destroying Israel, destroying the United States,
and
building up a war machine.
That's their end game by their own admission.
Right. They say it all the time.
Pope Leo reiterated that humanity must confront new challenges by listening to diverse perspectives and coming to reason. Artificial intelligence, which he gets back to, already touches many areas of our lives and affects decisions that shape human coexistence. I feel entrusted to look upon another huge transformation with eyes of faith, with lucidity of reason, with openness to mystery, with cries of the poor and the earth resounding in my heart. He calls for a series of principles to be applied to the development of AI, including a fair distribution of resources. That almost sounds like fair distribution of resources. So
that sounds very communistic.
Yeah, it does. The dignity of the human person, social justice, and care for the environment.
Yeah.
So he wants to destroy America.
Well, and the entire world order, and have some kind of global government. I'm sure he'd love
and we
to
have so much, can't we just give it to others, distribute? Because we work, some people go to work all day, they can have more than people that don't.
Right.
Pope warns that with AI, humanity risks building a Tower of Babel, which was an attempt for people to make a name for themselves with a single power in one language. And the Pope says the story is a warning against a plan that dominates and ultimately dehumanizes, insisting instead that diverse opinions and groups should continue to AI's development. And I don't know how he gets to the Tower of Babel.
I don't know, because it seems to me he's calling for a world government to enforce this stuff. I maybe not. Maybe he's just saying, look, I say it. It sounds good. You have to do it. It doesn't work that way.
The technology must protect people's jobs, which we know it's not going to. It's going to adjust a lot of things.
We've been in fundamental change.
Yes.
Rapid, accelerating fundamental technological change for at least 300 years.
And it needs to be subject to robust legal frameworks, independent oversight, inform users and political systems that does not abdicate its responsibility are required. He says the encyclical is traditionally a letter sent by the Pope to the bishops and the wider Roman Catholic Church, but recently it was broadened with Pope Francis using the first encyclical of his papacy to address the whole world on protecting the environment, and that was, global warming.
Yeah, in the meantime, he basically caved to the Chinese communists and said, here's all the list of all the Chinese Christians, so go ahead and persecute them.
Yeah. Leo's document on AI is being seen as a similar landmark text for the papacy and is addressing an epic defining topic which he addresses to Catholics and every person of goodwill. Identified AI as a top priority, and he is the first pontiff to personally present an encyclical letter to the world at the Vatican. It's 235 pages.
Wow. That's a lot of pages.
And he released the booklet, and this is curious, alongside Chris Olaf. Now, Chris Olaf is a co-founder of Anthropic. It's an AI company.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been in legal dispute with the Trump administration over the use of the technology in military and defense operations.
Yeah.
Olaf So he's working with an AI guy. The Pope is. I would think he'd be with a spiritual guy, but Olaf, who said he has spoken with 15 different religious leaders about AI, he believed the implications of the technology go far beyond scientific questions and concerns human flourishing and what a good world looks like. I don't know anything about Chris Olaf. I guess I should find out more, but he's developing AI. He's a co-founder, but he looks like he has problems with AI. Having a community engaged and trying to push this AI in a good direction is really powerful, since it helps counter the pressure that could force a race to the bottom of AI and cause things to go poorly. One of the most powerful forces that can resist that and instead cause a race to the top is when lots of people who care about the right thing happens are deeply engaged in paying attention and understanding the situation. And I hope that there can be more of that going forward from all parts of society.
Well, some of that sounds quite positive. I mean,
sounds like a PR guy wrote it.
Well, it does. And I think if we ignore AI, we have a greater chance of a big problem. But Musk was heavy on trying to put controls on
very heavy. I was just going to mention Musk was the leader on let's put some controls on that, and everybody.
And he reversed his position because it's not working,
and because China was making advancement.
He said, we have to compete in this. We have to get on top of it so that we don't become the victims.
Yes, and if you did put something in here, it would just control us and not the problem.
Well, and that's
like gun control doesn't control the crooks,
right? Or it's like saying we're not going to adopt modern weapons.
You shouldn't either.
We're going to get rid of guns like Japan did, and then eventually the society that adopts the new technology wins.
And what do they win?
So again,
what do they win?
Control, political control. The Japan was technologically backwards by the time Perry showed up, and then they had to play catch up for a few years.
Yeah. And that control is very profound in that a lot of AI is running war plans like we did in Venezuela, like we did in Iran. It's I don't know what its full use is.
I don't know. But I am hopeful that there are limitations on it and that it doesn't just take off runaway, which is what many theorists have said is going to happen. So I'm hoping that there are significant limitations on how quickly AI can advance so that we can adapt to it and find ways to make it safer. But, that's we can't do it by just saying we're not going to do something with it or we're going to let the Chinese do all of it.
Well, Chris Olaf says that he's deeply honored to share a platform with the Pope to release the text, and also revealed that the church, and by extension the world, is engaging with the technology to help us steer it towards a good outcome. He doesn't think AI can replace religion. Well, that's profound. And then
some people think it can.
Really? And religions are very important for a reason, which he doesn't. I mean, it doesn't sound like he has faith himself.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like agnostic or atheist.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that. At the end, the American Pope issued a critique. Transhumanism. I'm sorry, transhumanism. The idea that the technology can help a person overcome physical and biological limitations such as aging, and posthumanism, which questions the distinctiveness of human beings and blurs the boundaries between humans and machines.
Right.
We cannot consider AI to be morally neutral. Every technical tool embodies choices and priorities through what it measures, ignores, and optimizes, and how it classified people and situation. He prescribed the disarmament of AI, which means of rejecting the technology, but rather prevent which does not mean rejecting technology, but prevent it from dominating humanity. I don't know how that.
No, Musk would agree. I think most people agree with that goal. It's just, how do you do it?
Yeah, and I guess he doesn't want to learn all that. But interestingly, we just went through the Declaration of Independence, how the founders wanted to embrace religion by not messing with it, not incorporating it, and making it separate.
Correct.
Pope Leo is taking religion and says he's not making it separate. He wants to control it, control the AI, control how governments, to control the governments and stuff. Control AI.
I haven't read the whole 300 or 235 page document.
Yeah. We'll do that for next week.
Yeah, I might. But it
sounds like it's the opposite of Declaration of Independence. He's not making a separation. He's saying it's all blurred together.
He is one of the most significant religious leaders in the world.
That's why I'm reading it. I think it's worthwhile.
You know, I tend to view most of his opinions as not being correct. So I have to say that I don't entirely disagree with some of the premises he's putting forward. It's just, how do we get there?
Yeah. How do we get there?
Yeah.
At the same time I read an article that pastors are relying on AI generated sermons.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I read about it. Any professional, that's what we see. Lots of professionals are using it more and more. It's just that with these large language models, which is what most people are using, you have to be extremely careful. I've started using one, Grok, in my writing, but I treat it like an obstinate slave that is going to try to cheat you at every turn. You have to constantly check their work and be very, very careful with what is done.
But still is much quicker just researching all of it. That way you just research to make sure.
In an article I was recently working on, I asked AI to find sources for me that I suspected were out there, but I wasn't sure exactly where they were. And it was pretty good at that. So I'd go to the link, and the link was an actual link that had the actual information I wanted. That was very helpful at that. But it'll make up sources.
Oh,
so you got to be.
That's
very
easy
careful
to figure out if you're checking.
Yes, you have to check.
According to this article, 1 in 10 pastors are comfortable using AI to write their sermons. That surprised me.
Again, it all depends on how much of it the AI is doing.
Now,
if you write out a basic outline of a sermon, you say, could you put this into a format that uses good diction and grammar and makes the right points, and then you check it, that probably is acceptable.
43% believe it's okay to use AI to research and prepare for a sermon.
Well, research,
I could see that.
I tend to agree with.
And the study also found that 77% agree that God can work through AI. No.
Well, God can work with anything.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a self.
And 58% said they are comfortable using AI to assist in some form of communication. And that horrified Allie Beth Stuckley. She said, spiritual maturity is not going to happen through telling ChatGPT to write me a 3-part sermon on gratitude.
Well, should we use computers?
That's right.
This is always a problem with new technology. Is it has pluses and minuses.
Yeah. She said, plus using ChatGPT or any AI to write your sermon is dishonest because everyone is assuming that that's something that you wrote, that God revealed to you through his word and through prayer. But it's not. It's not revelation from God. It's a special revelation that we find in Scripture.
But what I'm seeing, and it's not ChatGPT, is because communications have now become so efficient that you see trend lines where people use an outline or a series of sermons that have been used other places and been very successful. And
same thing.
It's kind of similar.
They got to do their own work.
What you have to check. That's the point I'm going to make more than anything others.
Verify.
Is these large language models will feed you falsity and nonsense if you allow them to. With that, we're out of time. Do you realize that's 3 hours? It was a fast 3 hours. It's very fast. But you'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. Mortgage One Studios. Thanks for listening.